Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Dan Rather, and I'm joined by the Minister of Mice. Squawk, squawk.
That's me. Squeak, squeak.
Warning. Monica's not in this episode.
Yeah, the Minister of Mice
was tending to the Papa Mouse.
I was tending to the Grandpa Mouse.
The Grandpa Mouse.
So I had to miss this, which was really, I hate missing interviews so much. It stirs up stuff.
I know, sure. I don't want to make you feel worse, but I really wish you had been here because it was really fun. He's really delightful.
I'm a huge fan, really. He's such a good actor.
Oh, it's insane. Paul Giamatti, what an actor. He was in Sideways, Billions, Big Fat Liar, John Adams, Cinderella Man, and his new movie that is out now is awesome. I enjoyed it so much. The Holdovers, which is an Alexander Payne movie. We trust Alexander Payne. Yeah, very trusted brand.
Also, Paul has been nominated for a Golden Globe since The Record.
Probably because of The Record.
Well, I actually do want to say that. This is probably true. So if anyone in the future ever wants to get nominated for anything.
Yeah, you don't even have to be in acting. Like if you're Mick Jagger and you want a Golden Globe, come on the show.
Come on this show, and it happened to Willem Dafoe as well.
Okay, great. That neutralizes it. Because I was going to say they might, if they're superstitious, think they have to come when you're home dealing with.
Don't say that.
Well, I'm just saying the example, Paul Giamatti.
He's probably going to lose because I wasn't here.
Oh my God!
And Willem's going to win.
Don't you dare say that. Paul's going to win. He should win. He must win. We love Paul. And so will you. Please enjoy Paul Giamatti.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
This is very nice.
Have you been offered everything?
I have. I'm having some tea.
Okay, great. I'm going to put this here. I know you don't want it, but if you change your mind, there's a water.
I love this stuff.
It's fun, right?
Yeah, it's really funny.
When we were kids, there was no attempt to make water cool.
No, it's very bizarre, the whole water thing.
Yeah.
Very strange. Oh, there we go.
Oh. Don't you find that you sound 10% smarter?
I sound smarter. I sound more attractive.
Uh-huh. Now, you have a podcast.
I do.
And I'm wondering if when you would be out promoting movies and stuff and they'd make you do radio, did you find that you loved it?
Yes, I actually generally enjoyed the radio stuff more.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, they used to make me do the radio stuff a lot more. Radio in general, audio, just sound stuff. I still like to listen to like old radio drama. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love
How
those
do you
things.
find that?
There's a whole station that's all old radio shows.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. Well, now that you do a podcast, can't you imagine how much work those things were?
It's insane. And I was just saying, the whole thing is so much more work than I expected it to be.
The podcast.
Yes.
And it's not even written, right? It's not like these radio plays.
I wish people did that stuff still. And I don't know why they don't. They do it in England still.
Yeah.
A lot. And it's great.
Yeah, I just met a dude who writes for a radio show in England.
There's one that's been on for like 70 years called The Archers, which is only 15 minutes a day. And then on Sunday, they play the whole week's thing.
And it's episodic. Yes.
And it's been on forever. And some people, their entire career has been being on The Archers, playing one of these farmers.
Like these people on Simpsons or
the soap operas.
We're going to talk about soap operas.
Oh, excellent. Very good.
Back to it being on for 70 years. The only thing I have in my life like that is 60 Minutes, which my grandparents had it on every Sunday when I was there. And then when I watch it on Sunday, it's like the only thing I have that reminds me of tradition and this thing that I've been doing forever.
Super comforting. A little while ago, I was in a hotel. It was like a Sunday night. So I watched the CBS Evening News and then 60 Minutes. And I was like, this is so sane feeling. I got the news. I got what I need to know. I don't need 24 hours of it and a panel of experts like rehashing the same thing. I don't need an argument.
No. I get plenty of those in real life.
I don't need opinion.
Yes.
I don't need any of it. I got it really gently. I got just enough. In 60 minutes, I got 3 different stories. I was like, this is what it used to be like.
And there's some genius to the construct of 60 Minutes, which is I generally want 5 more minutes, which is probably the sweet spot.
That's right.
Yeah.
You do want a little little bit more, and that's smart.
Yes, it's a bit of coitus interruptus.
Yes, it is.
In a great way.
But you're right. It leaves you wanting more, which is nice.
And if you think about pitching 60 Minutes today, there's some devices in it that seem almost off-putting. Like, it starts with an actual stopwatch. It's almost like a task. It's like, oh, you got 60 more minutes of this.
That's right.
Yet it works, and I don't know why.
Yet there's something exciting. We've started. It's
Off to the
kinda like,
races.
boom, the starting gun, and you're going. So it gives it that, too.
Yeah.
And that's always been the thing. Even from the beginning, it's had a stopwatch. It started in the 60s or earlier.
I'm embarrassed I don't know the history. This is kind of my nature, though. Like, I'll be so into something. I've been in AA for 20 years. I don't know one thing about the founding of it or Bill W.
I get the gist of something, which almost feels better.
I want the spirit of everything.
Exactly. I'm not a big details guy either.
Yeah. Okay, now, have you had the fun experience watching 60 Minutes where for all of my life, none of the commercials pertained to me at all? It was for a Viking cruise down the Rhine River.
Sure.
Medication for very old
Geritol
people.
and stuff like that,
Yes,
yeah.
Metamucil. And now 75% of the commercials, I'll go, I should ask my doctor about that medication.
Maybe I should get Centrum Silver.
Yes. And then the Rhine cruise looks incredible to me now. I used to think it looked so boring. And now I'm like, wait, you sit down and Europe goes by out the window?
Unbelievable.
What a hack.
A cruise in general looks kind of amazing to me.
Yes.
Those giant cruise ships, it's like a building. It's like a skyscraper on its side. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's like a city block.
It is.
And they're so fucking tall. That's the overwhelming thing when you see one in real life.
They're freakishly fucking giant.
Yeah.
Man. And then to conceive of something going so horribly awry, like all the toilets break down or something, it's fantastic. And somebody hasn't really done a good movie like that, have they?
No,
Of
other
everybody
than-
trapped on a thing crapping in plastic bags. Has somebody done it?
Close. Did you see Triangle of Sadness last year?
No.
Oh my God, Paul.
I know.
Listen to me. Please watch
I've
it.
heard it's really good.
And there's a 30-minute set piece on a yacht that's going to give you everything you wanted in the world of puking and shitting and toilets
Fascinating.
malfunctioning.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And people have urged me to watch it, so I'll see it.
It's delicious.
Okay.
You know, I don't know that well, let me start by saying I'm an enormous fan. Genuinely.
appreciate it.
Yes, I love watching you. You're like 60 Minutes. I could watch several hours more every time I watch you. But you're, in a great way, kind of an enigma. I don't think I had even a theory of what your background was.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I have to say I'm kind of shocked to learn your background, which is like a father that was a professor at Yale and then the president of MLB and so academic. And you're like third generation.
Uh-huh. My question to you is, what did you think my background was? I've gotten this frequently for years.
Oh, yeah.
What a shock.
Well, let's just say that my fantasy of the life you had, everyone looks like a Kennedy and is on Martha's Vineyard all the
you
time.
mean my actual background? Sounds like it must be all Kennedys playing football on the lawn.
Yes, like the
yes.
East Coast blue blood,
Yes.
sweaters around a neck.
I was around people like that. My family is not exactly like that. I have a weird, jumbly background.
Yeah, I looked at pictures of Bartlett. Yeah, your father.
He's an Italian guy.
Right. So it's not the waspy thing I was imagining.
No, his mother was waspy, sort of.
Okay.
And so there's one line of waspiness. His mother was from New England. She has roots that go back.
May have lost a family member to witch burning or something.
That's perfectly possible. I would love to find out.
Have you been tempted to do that genealogy show?
The TV show, they
Yeah.
asked me to do it once, and I was like, I'd like to know first what's going on, and then maybe I'll be okay with everybody knowing. There's a certain degree to which I have enjoyed people not knowing. That's why I think I didn't do it. But I would like to know.
So my thing is, I don't want to roll the dice and find out I have slave owners.
And there's an excellent chance
Yes.
that it might be true.
Double digits.
Yeah, you don't want to find that out. And I don't know that I want to know that I had ancestors that burned women at the stake.
Right.
Either. It'd be interesting.
Also, I'm not someone who gets great pride from my previous generation's accomplishments. You know, like I meet people and they'll go like, Beauregard, whatever was, and I'm like, you didn't show up for work this morning. Like that's what you did. You
Right.
did-
Yes.
Forget
It
this.
doesn't really matter that much. It's not trickling down to me. I don't have that either. You can find something very unexpected or something strange. Maybe somebody was murdered. Something like that could be interesting.
I've been writing about my family, and yes, a couple of my great uncles were murderers. Now that I'm insanely interested
Great uncles.
in.
That's not that far back.
No, I grew up with them. The Honchels from Kentucky. And
Amazing.
They're crazy. That does give me pride. I'll tell you why. It's like
Yeah.
a reverse pride, which is they were batshit crazy.
Yeah.
My dad was partially crazy. and I'm like 30%. That to me,
You're
like I
okay.
see improvement.
Yes, absolutely.
The alcoholism's been bad through all of it, but
Yes.
not as bad.
It doesn't always degenerate.
Yeah.
Actually, things can get better. And it isn't that thing of the sins of the father visited on the child all the time. It doesn't have to be that.
Right. It can be a clean slate.
Yes.
Now, you've got a lot of things going on because I too am a younger brother and you have a very dynamic father. Did you have a sense that it was going to be hard for you to shine in this family?
My dad was a very down-to-earth person. So there wasn't ever some sense of expectation was such that you have to measure up to something, you have to be this or that.
And you didn't inherit that generic American, like you got to do better
Work
than your
ethic thing?
parents. Well, just this notion that this country is based on you sacrifice for your kids, they have a better opportunity. Like it keeps getting higher. And your father's the president of Yale, and you're like, where do I go from there?
That's a good point. No, I don't think I did. But I will say, other people in the world would look at who he was and be like, well, you got to fucking live up to that shit, don't you? So any sense of that came from other people, and you have to deal with that because there's expectation, but I didn't get it from him.
Okay. And what's the age gap between you and Marcus?
6 years?
Do you grow up thinking you're terrible at everything and then you're around peers and you go, oh, I'm not as terrible as I thought I was at everything?
Yes, and definitely in terms of athleticism. My brother was a great athlete. My sister was a really great athlete. I actually come from a lot of athletes. My great-grandfather was a champion long-distance swimmer.
Which explains why you were on the swimming team,
Yes,
probably.
and so swimming's a big thing. My grandmother was an Olympic diver on the Olympic diving team.
No way.
My mother was some kind of champion synchronized swimmer, which always makes me laugh. My mother's father was this big football coach, sportsman. So all this sports stuff. I was
This
like,
is all
that
adding
ain't
up.
me.
No. I think what happened was you like looked around and you're like, well, I'm not going to be the president of Yale and I'm not going to be in the Olympics. I better just pick my own fucking path.
Well, no, I think my dad and I looked around and were like, not us. So my dad and I bonded about books and movies. It was an artsy family, so it wasn't
well, yeah, your
surprising.
sister's a jewelry designer.
She was a jewelry designer and she was a ballet dancer. She did a lot of things.
Can I ask you one really inappropriate question? I've noticed that the professional divers, they have the best bodies. I don't know what it is about that activity that when you watch the Olympics, you're like, yeah,
True.
those are good fucking bodies.
Yeah, better than
did
the
grandma have an
swimmers, too.
incredible body?
I think Grandma back in the day did. Yeah, the
Yeah.
pictures of her, she's
Okay.
foxy. You're right. The divers, men and women, they get these incredible bodies. And it's got to be aerodynamic to hit the water and cut into it nicely.
Yeah. I think all the rotating, like the abdominals
Probably,
are great.
yeah, probably.
Okay, so is your sister in the middle?
My sister is in the middle. She was 3 years older than me. She passed away this year. It was a sudden thing, and it was several months ago.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you. But she was an amazing athlete, one of these kinds of physical geniuses. Anything you threw at her, she could take it up and master it.
So were you the baby of the family? What was your role?
I was a little bit the kind of hammy. Well, I mean, everybody was funny, but I was definitely clowny a little bit. And it was not the most uncontentious household, that I'll say.
Right.
And so I think I was also not the peacemaker, but I was a little bit the jester, going to make a joke.
Yeah, relieve some tension.
I'll be over here reading a comic book. I'm going to stay out of the way.
One thing I've noticed about siblings, and I'm watching it with my own two children, I think one benefit is you really learn to take it on the chin. You get blasted nonstop. If you have siblings, they tell you the harshest shit.
Brutal.
And maybe the whole family's having a good laugh at when you fell.
Yeah, there was a bit of a teasing, ragging culture through the whole family. My
Same.
parents ragged on us, and it was affectionate a lot of times. Sometimes I forget I have that, and other people don't necessarily love that.
I have that too. Well, also, I married an only child. And so her appetite for being made fun of is generally lower than mine. And then my sister will be over, and we're just so cruel to each other. And we love it. It's
Cruel.
like such a sign of endearment.
Yes, nothing would make me laugh more. My sister just ripping the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's perverse, but you learn to love it.
Yeah, you do.
I think it's an advantage when you enter acting because the beatdowns are endless.
I think that's a good point and very true. You developed a pretty thick skin already.
Did you do good in school, and what kind of kid were you in school?
If I was interested, I did well. I could fuck off a lot if it didn't interest me, but also I'm pretty much math illiterate. major blind spot.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, like it's incomprehensible.
Demoralizing and incomprehensible.
Count on my fingers, and that's tricky.
We'd make a great team because I'm dyslexic, so reading was not for me, but math came very natural.
Oh, really? That's very interesting. My brother had some stuff like that, and he's actually pretty good with math, and I'm the opposite. Somebody told me there is such a thing as dyscalculia, which is sort of numbers dyslexia.
I wouldn't doubt it. You know, we give these very arbitrary names to things we observe. And all they're observing, because I was labeled that as a kid, but then when I was at UCLA, I had to go through really comprehensive testing to have that label. And what they're looking for is some baseline of intelligence in all these categories, and then a huge trough, because that's inconsistent with how most people's intellects are.
That's right.
But if you just have this fallout, like clearly you have.
Totally, with math.
That would be a learning disability these days.
Yeah. I think back in the day, I can remember somebody saying to me, maybe you just have this sort of thing. Nobody did anything about it.
Well, what could
Nobody
they?
gave a shit.
I was at the phase where they knew how to label dyslexia, but they had absolutely no way to help you with
Yes,
it.
I can remember that, and it's terrible. I remember kids where it was just miserable. There was no help for it, but you had this stigma of something attached to you. It was terrible. Are you chewing?
I
that what
was.
you were
Yeah,
doing?
you know what happened is you were early, so I came down a little early. And
I always get places
no.
early. They usually have to build lateness into my schedule because I get everywhere early. Sorry.
No, it's admirable. It's on a resolution every single year. But I had mapped out perfectly. Like, I'm going to get a dip in. I'll be 20 minutes and I'll finish up and then I'll see Paul. You came and I was like, we're going down with a dip in. Did you ever do that as a kid?
I would do it sometimes. I had a roommate in college who really did it a lot.
Where was he from?
Chicago.
Oh, okay.
He did it a lot, and some other guys that I knew growing up did it a lot.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
It is the grossest habit.
It really is. And I've had a lot of nasty habits, and that was one that I couldn't. I mean, the spit
Like you
aside,
right now, the audience can't see where you're looking, but you're just staring at my spittoon.
At a bottle full of
and you're just
spit.
thinking,
and
like
I'm remembering
you.
I'm remembering how my roommate, there were like big gulp cuffs sitting around just brimming with fucking spit. You know, we would all do it, and it was disgusting.
But
also it just tasted bad. Now, I smoked cigarettes like nobody's business.
Me too. What was your brand?
When I was younger,
can I guess?
it was Marlboro. Oh, yeah. Oops. I just said, but it switched.
But that's where you started, and that's where I started. I started with Marlboro Lights,
Yes.
and then I landed on Camel Lights.
Yes.
I could tell.
That's exactly
Now, I
where I
couldn't
went.
tell your background, but I knew you smoked Camel Lights. And let me tell you something. I was elitist about this. I made assertions about people based on what cigarette brand. We both know if someone's smoking Parliament, like that's a certain thing.
It really is.
You need attention. I mean, I do too, but you're going to be, what, European? What are you doing?
But Parliaments were the ones with the weird filters, weren't they?
Yeah, I think they had like
hollow
a triangle
filter thing,
at the top of it.
yeah, it was that thing. But just seemed to me, I don't need some gizmo. I don't need some fancy
No
gizmo in my
accoutrement.
cigarette. I just want the straight delivery system.
Here's my fantasy. They're going to come out with a pill. Well, let's just ask you. If they came out with a pill that inoculated you from lung cancer, would you return to smoking?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
No, I think I'd say yes.
I know. I'm not sure where
I think I'd
land.
absolutely say yes. Even though when I quit, I'm quit now, and I have no desire. The first time I quit, when I was about 32, I smoked a lot. And I was like, I'm going to die.
Couple packs a day.
More than a couple.
Okay. And if we're drinking, we're going to.
Even more. And I was like, I'm going to die. And so I stopped. And I thought about it all the time. And about 6 years later, I started again. Then I was getting back up to a couple for sure, and then edging over that. And that time I quit. Now I don't think about it ever.
I don't either.
But
I'd
still do that.
I wonder if we have the same trigger, especially if I'm back in the Midwest or on the East Coast, or it's raining and I'm in a car and I go, I want to roll the window down and fucking.
That's kind of
There's
it.
something about
It's generally that kind of
in
thing.
a car with the rain and
Yeah,
the window down.
I know what you mean.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
know.
The sound of the rain, the smell in the car.
There's more humidity.
Looking
The
out the
smoke's
window.
thicker. It's burning
That's
different.
true.
There's like a lot of
That's
things
very
happening.
good.
It's very romantic.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
All growing up, my father, we go to his house on the weekend. He only owned a Corvette. So there's one seat for two boys. And he fucking killed, listen to this, Vantage Menthol 110s.
Wow.
What? What are you doing, Dave? What the fuck is
And
that?
those
We would
things-
drive to 10 gas stations, Paul, so he could find his cigarettes.
Well, yeah. Benson and Hedges 10,000s or whatever they were. It was my father. And they were these giantly long things.
Yardstick
And he
cigarette.
was the guy who was like lighting two of them at once, forgetting he still had one going and lighting up the other one.
Yeah.
And so actually, I think probably the first time, I can't believe I'm talking this much about smoking. You don't have to talk about
We're kind of
smoking so
promoting
much.
it. I like it.
Yeah, totally. Probably the first cigarettes I ever smoked were his that I stole. My mother smoked too, but not quite like my dad. So I think those are probably the first things I started with were those Benson and Hedges. Would you light one up now?
Never. Because like you, I quit at 30. I have not gone back. We're going on 20 years.
Yeah, I
coming
quit
up.
at 32 and then I quit 10 years ago again at 46.
Have you ever gotten ensnared in the vape?
No, I found that unpleasant.
Oh, great.
I worked with a guy who was just sucking on that thing all the time, and I tried it, and I was like, nah, I don't care for this.
Yeah, so I'm glad that was your response. At 17 years off cigarettes during COVID, I was up at Lake Arrowhead. Have you ever been up?
Yeah.
So we're in the mountains, it's snowy, and my friend was visiting me smoking cigarettes. And again, there's something about those pine trees.
Yeah,
I was
the
really
snow.
desiring it. Another guy was vaping. I'm like, well, I want to smoke so bad that I'm going to pacify myself with this vape. Look up a year later, and I'll tell you why I'm so glad for you. You never got on it.
Yeah.
Is it gives you what you always want out of the cigarette, which is you want to hit the cigarette nonstop. That's why you were at 3 packs a day, right?
Yes.
It's not lit, but it's always in your hand, and you can smoke all day long.
The hand thing was a big part of it for me,
Yes.
though. The prop thing, the physical nervousness or whatever it was of having this thing to play with was huge. I could see that with those things. I mean, please, the little gizmo like that. I mean, it's great.
It's a fidget. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm really glad you don't like those because then I had to fucking quit that thing, and I was
Yeah.
like, wow, this is just like quitting smoking all over
Yes,
again. Maybe
of course.
worse. 'Cause
Probably worse.
the nicotine level was through the roof.
Right.
Let's go to the boarding school. You weren't a boarder.
I wasn't.
But I don't know why, because I do have this chip on my shoulder about the elite class and snobby people,
Sure.
all that stuff. Yet, many of my favorite books take place at boarding schools, whether it's Tobias Wolff or Catcher in the Rye. I do also have this,
Sure. It's a really great fantasy.
yes,
Yeah.
and you experienced it.
The fantasy around it's really powerful. I really genuinely think it starts with the English because the whole thing is a knockoff of the British system of those fancy boarding schools. All that fucking Eton boarding school, all the guys in the swallowtail coats walking around with
Yeah.
the bow ties on and going to their classes. And that's really all Harry Potter is.
Good
It's a boarding
point.
school
You're
story.
right.
And it's that British boarding school story. And people love that shit. That British cozy tea time
Tradition.
scones, and then I'm playing field hockey or whatever the hell it is, and I have my schoolmaster, and I'm doing all this stuff with my scarf
Yeah.
wrapped around my neck. I think it comes from the fantasy of the British, and it's transplanted here.
I agree with that, but what do we think is so appealing? I'm spitballing because I don't think this is it, but is
No,
it
no.
like the notion of being with all boys? It's almost like
That-
summer camp forever.
I think there's that too.
And there's this idea of like being a rascal and fucking
Yeah.
around a bit, trying to get away with shit.
Yeah, boys will be boys.
Yeah,
Together, young men being formed. But again, that all comes from the British, man.
Yeah.
All this notions of kind of young men and tradition and all this stuff.
So you went to Choate,
I did.
which is very much one of these schools, right? There were people
Very
that were
much so.
You weren't boarding though, were you?
No, I was a day student because I wasn't that far away from New Haven where I grew up. And I didn't want to board anywhere. And my parents didn't want to send me to a boarding school. But it was a good school. Academically,
Right. And then it puts you probably on a trajectory if you would want to be on one.
for sure.
I guess I don't want this to sound judgmental because I don't know anyone's story. But the notion of me sending my children away is
get it.
insane to me. I'm already panicked that they're going to go
I know.
in 8 years.
Devastating when they go.
Yeah, so sending them out at 12.
I agree with you. I would never do it either. My son, I liked him. I really liked him. I want him around.
Right.
I like hanging out with him. He's great. I don't want to send him away. Now, I suppose if your kid's a nightmare,
Yes.
maybe you want to send him away or need some help or whatever. But it's a weird notion to me, too.
Were you going to school with kids that their parents were hedge fund people or whatever they were?
For sure. I don't think I knew what the fuck a hedge fund was at the
Yeah.
time. I still don't really exactly.
Right. I don't think
I was
the
on a
people who own
TV
them
show
do.
about it, and I still don't know what the hell it is. Yes, it's interesting. I grew up at this institution that was the next step in the process of this sort of elitism and stuff like that. So I was around all of this, but I was around it in a different way. I was around the academic part of it. I was around the professors. So to me, that place like Yale was a place of scholarship. You went and studied old manuscripts. It wasn't, I'm going to go be the head of the CIA if I go to this place. So even when I then went to Choate, I was like, oh, wow, there's kids from New York here. I had not had any experience of that myself. Crazy stuff. And kids who have like expensive drug habits at young ages. And it was just revelatory and shocking and strange.
Did you feel on the inside of it or the outside of it?
No, very much in the outside.
You felt like an anthropologist
Very much
there?
so.
Okay.
That's exactly how I would describe it. And I think at those places, if you're a day student there, it's that to begin with. You're outside of it now anyway, because it's a completely different experience to live there. I imagine. I don't know. I didn't live there.
Well, I'd imagine you get so much closer to everybody if you were living there.
Absolutely. You're living in these dorms with these teachers. I mean, it's crazy.
It is wild.
And the interesting thing, too, was not me, but a lot of the other day students were scholarship kids from the area. And so they weren't that thing. It's a working class area around that school.
New Haven,
and a lot
yeah.
of those schools, which is actually in the movie that I'm in, The Holdovers. That movie's all about class.
There's a couple of big metaphors that are happening currently that are really prevalent in it. But it is interesting because on the surface, you're like, yes, this is a wonderful thing. Let's take people that don't have a lot of opportunity and give them the apex of opportunity. But in doing that, I mean, I felt less than in a town where there wasn't much income inequality. So I don't know what I feel like if we're on welfare and I go and these kids are going to Vail.
Yeah, I was coming from a place, and I was like, this is fucking wacky as hell. No, I can't even imagine. And the interesting thing is so many of those kids were the smartest kids.
The ones that came on scholarship.
So fucking smart and interesting.
And then they're next to like fourth generation.
Totally.
So the movie's so beautiful in doing this because I think, and I'm curious if you've had this experience. So I grew up hating rich people. And then lo and behold, I got a bunch of money. And now I feel that ire. And I'm like, whoa, wait.
It's a really interesting dilemma and very American.
Yes. I love this movie because I feel like I've lived on both sides of it. And I think I've learned that, yeah, both sides suffer. There is the illusion that this thing's going to solve everything. And then even your character, you live in a world where you too are in judgment of these lackey kids who are spoiled.
Yeah. He's not socioeconomically from that
Correct.
background either, but he's in this world and he's comfortable in this world, but not really.
And then, of course, as you come to find out, the money's not solving anything for
No,
these people.
not for any of them.
In fact, it's probably...
Making everything worse in some ways.
So it's very fair.
Yeah, it is very fair. But I mean, it sucks to be a human being.
Right.
It sucks more for a lot of people than other people, but it kind of sucks to be alive sometimes. It's hard.
It is. It is.
know?
It's really hard. Do you have nostalgic feelings for Choate? Do you have friends that you made there that you're still friends with?
Very few. I had a rough time there. Those places, I don't think they're the same anymore.
Like bullying's overlooked or not even thought of?
Sure, but it wasn't even necessarily the kids. It was the teachers. That teacher that I play, when I went there, is only 10 years on from when the movie's set. It was still those guys, and a lot of them were guys. The idea of conveying learning was harsh for a lot of those people. And they're pissed off about a lot of things. They're unhappy.
They're like uber intellects, but they didn't get to the upper strata.
No. And some of them were better and more rigid and more rigorous even than college.
Right.
Because maybe they have something to prove to themselves. It was harsh.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't have a great time.
You
I'm not
didn't
going to
lie.
lie.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the friends I have are great friends because it's the boot camp thing where you're like, okay, we got through that.
Common suffering really
Yeah.
does bond people. Did that experience make you at all suspicious of what the Yale experience would be?
It was a place I was more familiar
Would you visit
with.
Dad there?
Sure. I can remember when he was teaching, going to his office and stuff.
He must have been so proud
Of him in
to
general?
go visit him.
Oh, sure. It was awesome,
Yeah.
too. His office when he was a teacher, it's all this fake medieval stuff. And
Right.
yet it's all this phony fantasy. It's an awesome fantasy library.
Life's a fantasy anyways.
It's all fantasy. It's a really seductive fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
This was a kid, and a kind of nerdy kid like I was, who wasn't a big athletic kid. There's books everywhere, and his weird eccentric colleagues are all sitting around their tweed and their fucking corduroy.
Some pipe smoking.
Pipe smoke was a really evocative smell to me.
Yes.
Because it's like they're all smoking their pipes and sitting around and talking. I mean, a lot of the time they're sitting around talking about baseball because they're all baseball nerds.
I don't know, maybe this is too anecdotal, but they're specifically baseball nerds.
They are specifically baseball
Yeah,
nerds.
right? The elite school people, that's their sport for
It
whatever
is their
reason.
sport. For
They're
some
not
reason,
obsessed with football.
Not the same way, because I think it's the
I think it's the stats.
I was just going to say, I think it's the statistics.
Yes.
It's all of that kind of like poring over all the statistics.
And memorizing
and all this
data.
shit. Yeah, all that stuff.
Being able to quantify humans so easily.
Yes.
Yes.
I need to take a leak.
Oh, yeah.
Does this
Go
happen
ahead.
ever
Oh, yeah,
for you?
absolutely. We can step out or we can stay.
No.
Okay, great.
Stay here. Record the entire thing.
Okay, great. I applaud that you're confident enough to advocate for yourself when you have to pee.
I can't pretend anymore. Sorry. Does it happen?
Oh, no, totally. It happens probably 1 in 10 interviews.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we had that mic there.
Yeah, we've been thinking about installing a mic over there. In fact, it happens so often. You may be wondering to yourself, why don't they have a door? And,
It didn't occur to me, but why not?
well, we've entered this stage of this experience where we've become superstitious because, you know, we all suffer from imposter syndrome. So this is too good to be true. So now superstition's afoot. So we can't alter this place at all.
I see.
Like the garage you saw when you walked in that's almost done, the black one, that was built as a new studio. And we decided
You're not used
that's
to it.
too dangerous. There's mojo in here and we'll just live with no door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, back to Yale, the pipe smoke, the
pipe smoke.
the
All that stuff.
statistics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Baseball. I can remember my dad just sitting around with these guys talking about baseball
Yeah.
all the time. Weird
So
world.
was he still there when you started Yale?
No.
How old were you when he died? He died very young.
I was 22. He
Okay.
was 51.
But he had already left Yale and he was probably in between going to MLB.
Yeah, I think he was not really doing anything. He kind of
Okay.
took a year off. I think he still was sort of teaching.
What did he teach?
Funny how vague it is in my mind. He was a comparative literature professor. He taught Italian and English literature of a particular period.
Oh, interesting. And then you majored in
I was an English major, yeah.
And when you entered there, were you already set on what you wanted to do?
No, I wanted to be an anthropology major, which is you said about
you should have.
anthropology.
80% female major.
That as well. You're exactly right. I wasn't quite sure what that meant to me. I was interested in a lot of things that anthropology seemed to cover. When I had to take a statistics class, I was immediately like, well,
Fuck this.
I see numbers and my
yeah.
fucking brain just shut down.
Right.
So I can't do this because I couldn't get through that class. And then I wanted to be a fine art major because I draw too. I took a class and he kind of persuaded me. He was like, you should think about doing this. And then I thought, I'm just going to be sitting in a studio drawing all the time. I'm at this place and I should do something that is more expansive and I can do a lot of different things. And English seemed like a thing where you can jump around, do all kinds of things.
Did you have any fantasy about what you were going to do as a job or a career? Did you think you would be a professor?
In some weird way, there was some sort of default thing that it was like, I'm probably going to be a teacher because
Family business.
everybody's a teacher.
When we didn't mention your mom taught English
My
for
mom
20
taught
years.
English and her parents were high school teachers and my father's father was a professor and everybody was teachers. My cousins, teachers, everybody.
How does acting come up?
I'd always loved acting since I was a little kid. So if in the school play in grade school, I was excited to do whatever in it. My mom had some aspirations of being an actor. She didn't do it. So she took us to the theater a lot, took us to movies a lot, encouraged it to some extent. My brother was really into it. And he was more definitely into it. At some unconscious level, I think I always was going to do it. But I was telling myself, you could be an academic, you could try and do graphic design stuff, you could do these other things, but I didn't really want to.
Right. And so they have a theater program, Yale.
I didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay, you got your master's there.
I got my BA in English there.
Right.
I got my master's. I went back to drama school, to the graduate school.
Having not acted any of the
I
4
acted
years.
extracurricularly. There was a big scene of doing that. You'd do plays wherever in the dining
Okay,
hall.
so you were doing that while
I
you
was
were...
doing it constantly, but I was not doing it as an actual discipline.
Right.
I was just doing it for the fuck of it because there was some part of me that was just like, you're not really going to do this, but I loved it more than anything else.
Okay, now let me ask you this, and I'm going to recognize how delusional this is, but at the time, it wasn't my delusion. I loved movies. I was looking at it, and I was like, where am I in this? I don't feel like I'm goofy enough looking to be a comedian, and I don't think I'm handsome enough to be an actor. So I'm wondering if any of your trepidation and committing to it is like you're not looking on screen and going like, yes. You know what I'm saying? That could be mildly offensive. But
No, not at all. Not at all. It's
Okay.
a very funny question to me because I don't think I ever thought as a child. Somebody asked me this recently because I'm doing all this publicity stuff. Somebody said, so did you want to be an actor as a child? And I said, no. And they said, really? You didn't? I said, no, because in that case, I would have had to play a child, and that wouldn't have interested me at all.
Right.
Like, I don't want to fucking play a child.
Yeah.
And so the person said to me, did you see something that made you want to be an actor? Somebody, something. And the immediate thing I thought was Telly Savalas in The Dirty Dozen when I was a kid. I looked at that and I went, that fucking guy is amazing. He's crazy looking. He's crazy sounding. He's playing a crazy person. This movie is fucking amazing and insane. I can't say to you that I wanted to be Telly Savalas in The Dirty Dozen.
It just turns some
my
imagination.
imagination was gripped by constantly things like that. I think if there was something that I looked at when I was in college and I went, I do want to do this, it was Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet.
Oh, no kidding. With the ether.
What a performance.
Yeah,
and still that movie. But as a kid, I loved movies and I loved watching them. Planet of the Apes movies, things like that are what got me excited.
That makes sense. But if your brother was already on the path and he's like a big athlete, I might just be like, well, yeah, that's for him. He's like a stud athlete.
I think so.
He'll probably make a living at this.
Yes. He did. And he does.
Now, when did you start overlapping with Ron and Edward? In graduate school?
No, that was undergraduate.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they were theater majors. I was doing these extracurricular plays, and both of them were in some of those. Ron was my age and was in my class.
Okay, and then Edward's a little 1 year,
2 or 3
2
years younger than me.
Do you remember watching him or anything?
I remember doing a play with him.
Okay, well, that's probably quite memorable.
I don't remember seeing him in anything else, but I remember being in a play with him. And we both had tiny parts in the play.
It's pretty fucking cool that the two of you are...
It's funny.
It's
very funny.
I mean, you guys are on a very short list of
guess.
people over the last 30 years that have just been mind-blowing.
Well, he's amazing.
As are you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But he was a lovely guy. I remember him well, and he was
Yeah.
very funny, and we had a good time in this ridiculous play with these little parts that we were playing. He and I had to have an idiotic sword fight in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It was great.
All right, so now you get your master's in this.
That's in the graduate school.
In the graduate school. And then is the decision, I imagine, next move to New York?
I actually moved out to Seattle after college. What happened is my dad died, and I think I was a little bit disorientated by that. So I went
Yeah.
out there for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. I ended up living up in Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill,
Yeah,
baby.
of course,
That's
man.
where I did all my drinking.
Oh, sure.
What a
Absolutely.
great
What
place
an amazing
to-
place. I lived right up on the top at 17th and Republican.
Oh, wonderful.
And it was so great up there. Now, did you live out there?
I dated a girl for 9 years that was from Marysville, Everett. And so we were up there nonstop. She had gone to UW. All of her friends lived on Capitol Hill. And we would drink 40s at Gasworks Park and go to
Yeah,
the troll
sure.
under the, and
Absolutely.
I just loved it.
I loved
Coffee
it
and
out there.
booze. It was just
fantastic.
Talk about a place to smoke cigarettes.
Cigarettes, the
Fucking
whole nine
rains
yards.
nonstop.
Raining nonstop and sitting in the car.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, I loved it out there.
Yeah, so great. So what were you doing
I
there?
moved out there. I had a girlfriend
Okay.
who was from out there, from
That'll
a very
do it.
small town across the Puget Sound. And so lived out there, and there was a whole kind of cadre of people from out there. And then a bunch of people I knew who were acting moved out there. So again, my instinct took me out to where acting was going on, but I kept telling myself I'm going to do something else. I was working in a little black box theater that these people were running. And then I did odd jobs and stuff, and I thought about doing other things. And then I got an agent. And at this time, there was a shit ton of work out there. You could actually make a kind of weird, very minimal living. But I was doing industrial films for Boeing and doing this weird theater. And so I think because of that experience, I was like, this is really what I actually want to do. So I'm an idiot. I should just go back to school to actually learn what it is.
Even though you had all the on-the-ground experience, you're entering a world of theory, going to graduate
To
school,
school?
having not ever studied it.
I was glad I had that real world experience.
Yeah.
But you're actually doing a lot of plays and you do a lot that you're never going to do again. And so you got actual real experience actually acting. But yeah, there's a lot of theory and you pick and choose what suits you or works for you.
So then after Yale, do we go to New York?
Yes.
We go to New York.
We go to New York.
And is that scary for you or you're excited?
I was excited to actually be in New York doing it. Absolutely.
What year did you graduate from getting your master's degree?
1994.
Okay. So you were on Broadway while you were there? When do you get your first?
I think that happened maybe the end of 94 or 95. I'm not sure which year it was. But I ended up in a play at Lincoln Center.
You did back-to-back there, yeah?
I did. Nicely done.
Thank you. So
Nice digging,
I'm
man.
embarrassed I even had to look at the date.
I know.
over here.
Listen, I'm amazed you knew that at all. I spent about a year or so working there, which was unbelievable.
There's two things you've probably detected that's already of interest to me. Like, I want to know what chips on your shoulder you inherited from your childhood. And then I'm also very interested in, and we just talked about mine, which is these evolving fantasies of where you're going.
Yes.
I love these. So I'm wondering at this period, in your mind, are you going to be a Broadway actor?
Fantasy and imagination about yourself is fascinating.
Yes.
Because I genuinely think it's pretty much all we're doing most of the time.
I agree.
think our capacity for fantasy and imagination is the primary function of consciousness. That's an interesting question. What was I imagining I was going to do?
Post Yale. Because to me, the theater seems way more open to you.
As an actor in general. Yes.
Yes,
and
it's
I
a
think you're right.
meritocracy.
That's true.
If you're fucking
That's
great.
true. Yes, I think you're right. There's a lot more expansiveness in thinking about what you can play. Ability trumps a lot. I had no experience of doing anything else, but I also loved it. I mean, I still love it.
Yeah.
I don't do it enough anymore.
My guess is you miss it so much, the visceral experience of staying on stage. And then the notion of doing 8 a week is just insane.
It
That's
is
where my
insane.
wife's at. She's like, I'm going to die if I'm not there. And if I'm there, I'm going
Then
to
once
die.
you're there, particularly if it's not a good play.
Right.
If you're in a bad play, it's 10,000 times worse than being in a bad movie or a bad TV show.
Yes, because you got to repeat.
It's an incarcerated feeling. And yet, even in a bad experience like that, when it ends, you're kind of heartbroken. Almost more so with the bad experiences, more so than any film or TV thing I've ever experienced.
Oh, really?
The sense of sadness that you're going to leave these people and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, it
more
is.
intense. Yeah.
It's what we were saying. Like, it's so bonding to be.
Yeah, it's super bonding. And I think that's a lot of what I liked about the theater was bonding with the other actors and the audience and stuff like that.
I've talked about this too much recently because I just had this experience where Kristen joined all of my old Groundlings friends and troupe. You have one day to learn a musical. They did Chorus Line. I got it on Tuesday. They performed it on Wednesday. It's a mess. It's
That's
so
awesome.
funny. She got to drop into my old life. And then so I was so nostalgic because it's over 20 years since I was there. And I was just really remembering my favorite memories of the whole experience is when we would write a sketch, we'd put it up, and it would just eat shit. And then we'd grab our props and we'd walk backstage into the green room and we'd look at each other like, holy
that's exactly
smokes, did
right.
that thing go up in flames?
Absolutely.
There's something so intimate about that moment
Brutal.
that they're my favorite
They're
moments.
my favorite moments too. And I also have a real taste for when something just goes wrong too.
Yes,
Whatever
yes,
it
yes.
is. Something unexpected happens.
The reason I like that is that now we're playing by different rules.
Totally. It feels funnier. Just it's fantastic when something goes wrong. You have to take control of it. There's also something I love. It's akin to those moments that you have. I have them on stage, but I have them in movies too, where you pop outside of yourself for a moment and you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, this is
How
preposterous.
bizarre what I'm doing is. And it's a reminder too of something that I like about it, which is that we're fooling people.
Yes.
I like fooling people. It's a benevolent con game.
It's delightful.
Hopefully it's helping people by fooling them.
Yes. Okay, so 95 things start kind of moving for you. I mean, I have to imagine this is one of your favorite years to look back on.
I guess so. It's all a little bit of a blur to me.
But you're in a Woody Allen movie, you're in a Sidney Pollack movie, and then you're in Tom Stoppard's Arcadia, all in a year. And it's not like you weren't doing things. It's just, but now this year hits hard.
Yeah, no, and it was a surprise. And I do think I thought I was just going to be doing theater. I didn't think I was going to be on Broadway. That was a surprise. I had a lovely, funny, little weird supporting character part in that, which was just great. And the movies I was doing, barely anything to do with them.
Yeah, but you're like,
But it was
you're
great.
sitting on a Woody Allen set.
Amazing.
It's crazy.
I got to act with Woody Allen. I had 2 lines or something.
Oh.
And then Sidney Pollack and all this stuff. So yes, I was around that stuff and it was a trip.
Yeah, now the fantasy starts evolving because now you've experienced it in real life.
Yeah, you experience it. And yet I talk about how important fantasy is. But there's a part of me that's extremely pragmatic and realistic.
Could we say maybe you're pessimistic?
We could say that. That's exactly right. And skeptical. So I don't think I was sitting there thinking, I got it made now, and everything's just going to be smooth sailing now. And I had no conception that film or TV would be anything that would pan out as anything. This is amazing and sort of surreal and fantastic. But I thought theater is what I'm going to probably actually do. And then that was actually exceeding my expectations too.
This is the one benefit of being very pessimistic.
Yeah.
It's like everything that happened for me, I was like, wow.
Still, everything that happens to me exceeds my expectations.
So Private Parts is a big.
Yes.
And of course, this is where I become aware of you as someone who loves Stern. Can't wait to see that movie. Can't wait to see who's going to play Pig Vomit. I'm primed to like this. And then lo and behold, the movie turns out fucking great.
It's a really good movie.
You just blast into the world like out of a cannon in this role.
It was a really great written part. And I do think that I had been doing a lot of this wonderful little bit part stuff, but it was very confining.
It's very stressful, I think, doing those little things.
Incredibly stressful.
Yeah, having 2 lines is way harder than having 100.
Way harder. And I have nothing but the highest regard and respect for the people who come on a set and have 2 fucking lines.
Me too.
Or they have to be the bartender who has a whole fucking ballet with all the glasses and the drinks, and they have to repeat it every time. Or they have to come on and burst into tears for one scene.
They're the heroes of the whole thing.
They are the heroes of the whole thing.
But you're there in Private Parts. And now you've got enough to do that I'm guessing, you're working enough that you get a rhythm going, you can get in the zone.
I suppose so. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I'd done some film stuff, but I still really didn't know what the hell I was doing on film. And I got this really great part that allowed me to just go bonkers. I mean, there was no cap on it.
Right.
And that director, Betty Thomas, was amazing. And I learned a ton, and we rehearsed. I mean, I've never done a lot of this since, except working with like Alexander Payne or something.
The rehearsal and that.
Yeah, there was a lot of caretaking with a movie that really had no right to.
No, I know.
You could have made any piece of garbage you wanted with that. It would have been fine.
Certainly the people financing it were like, give them anything and that audience will go see it.
Totally.
The Betty of it all, what a breakthrough. And it gave that movie actual heart and actual. Yes.
No, it's a really good movie.
Did you get on with Stern well?
Yeah, he was great.
He's so lovely, right?
Lovely.
In real life?
The nicest guy and really fun to work with and
Curious.
sincere, curious, really game to do whatever, playing himself in that thing, which is not an easy thing to do, and actually doing it really well.
Yes.
The whole thing was great. It spoiled me for most movie stuff for a while after that.
Yeah. Things really take off. The fact that you drop into... No, you know what? You already did that. No, when did you do... Oh, no. Yeah. Saving Private Ryan. I mean, I think it's insane you're in that movie.
I can't remember whether that's before or after.
It's after. Well, at least it came out after.
I don't remember.
You know, you have a couple lines and stuff. Then you have Private Parts where you steal the movie, and then boom, you're in a Spielberg movie 1 year later in a World War II movie.
It's bonkers. I've never had a plan, so everything was going to be surprising to me. And then it's hugely surprising to be doing something like that.
Okay, we're going to talk really quick about, for me, the next big thing is American Splendor. So I'd seen you as Pig Vomit. Now I see American Splendor, and I'm like, oh, this guy is kind of on another level. And especially when they were intermixing the real footage of Harvey with you, I was like,
all of us.
Oh my God, he's doing the most incredible job imaginable.
You know, you play a real person, you can get away with stuff, but the real people were there for all of us, which was great. I mean, I remember Judah Friedlander, who played Toby Radloff, the very peculiar friend of theirs.
Yes.
And people were
that
like, well, this
was
guy.
the one that I thought was over the top.
Of course, people were like, this is ridiculous what he's doing. And he was underplaying it fantastically, too. The actual guy was more than that.
You're 100% right. I almost think they should have shown the real guy first, because I was watching going like, this guy's swinging way too far for the fences.
I guess
and then at
so,
the end, I'm like, that guy's a
genius.
And then, of course, Sideways, because now you go from, even though you're a pessimist, probably started entertaining the notion of like, oh yeah, I'm a character actor that's going to work and can buy a house. This is going to be a profession that I'm not going to be uncomfortable in.
I think I felt some degree of maybe I'll be able to do this for a long time. I'll probably be able to find a job. I'm lucky as hell. But I did have this feeling of I think it'll be okay, because I didn't feel that. And I still don't.
No.
Entirely.
Probably wouldn't have chose this industry if you...
Yeah, probably not. So, yes, I definitely felt a bit more of a sense of security.
So when you step into doing lead roles, do you have any apprehension or fears? Or you just saw the character and you knew you could play it and you're like, yes, let's go?
I guess so. I mean, that part I really wanted to do because I just thought, wow, what a crazy, colorful part. And It was a bit of a fluke, my getting that part at all, but it was a great thing. I look at it, and this isn't false modesty or something. I don't consider myself playing the lead. I don't consider myself a lead actor. I think it's a different thing. I feel like I've been lucky to play maybe the central character of an ensemble. And I don't say that to be Pollyanna-ish. I think really being a proper leading actor is something different. That's intimidating to me.
I don't know. Holdovers, you're straight the lead.
Am I? I don't
Yeah.
think of myself that way. And again, it's not because I'm some kind of great guy or something.
No,
like
I
that.
know, I know,
I have
I know.
a big ego. I'm an actor, but I don't somehow think of it ever as feeling like I have to carry this thing. You know, I watched Denzel Washington in Equalizer 3 on the plane, which was amazing. And I'm like, I could never do what this guy does. I don't have that.
What is the actual element you think
I
you
don't know what it is.
Okay. Well, because one thing we could say about like movie star leads,
I don't do that. Clearly I don't.
but let's
do
try
that.
to define what they're
And I'm
doing.
not putting myself down either. I just
Yeah.
don't think I do that.
I'm going to propose to you what the thing is.
Yes, please.
And then why I think you have it. So I would define like a true leading man or a leading lady as someone you can watch just exist. They don't need much story in that moment. They don't need any action. De Niro for me is the prime
Well,
example.
yeah.
Like him in Casino, he could walk down the street. If it went on forever,
Ever.
I would watch it.
Okay.
Clooney in the back of the car at the end of Michael Clayton taking a cab ride. It goes on for 11 minutes. I wish it was 18.
Right.
You're absolutely fascinated with the human being's face and whatever charisma is just falling off of it. And that to me is what the leading person is.
Has to have.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I still am skeptical.
Okay, that's fine.
It is that compulsive watchability. I try to
Yeah, I can
see
watch you
myself as having
shuffle around your shitty room in that fucking prep school for eternity. Like, have a couple drinks, do it. I don't know, just exist in that little shitty room.
Well, that's nice to hear. I appreciate it.
Okay, we must touch down on Sideways because for several reasons. A, we're coming up on 20 years of it coming out, which I think must feel insane to you.
It's freaky.
Are you having those feelings?
Oh, for
because
sure. I mean, I have them all the time. You hit 50 and it suddenly becomes this very different thing. It starts accelerating even more.
That's hard for me to
And it's the
believe.
strangeness of when you're a kid and you're 25 and somebody's 35, it seems a lot older than you. Now I'm 55. Somebody 75 doesn't seem that much older.
Well, percentage-wise, it's less of a gap
is.
between 25 and 35.
It is.
I know you don't like math, but that's
No,
two-thirds
I
versus
actually followed
5/7.
that. I understood that. That gets freaky. And to be able now to think in decades of time.
Oh, yes. I journal every morning, and almost
Nice.
every day that I write the date, I go, oh my God, it's already November. Oh, it's already December. Oh, it's already January.
I still can't deal with it's the 21st century. I'm like, we're living in 2020. You know, that's crazy to me.
And think when we were growing up, because you would still meet someone's great-grandparent that was born in 1899.
I think about that all the time.
Yes.
My neighbor growing up, that guy was alive. He knew Civil War veterans.
And from the 1800s. And
Yes.
shortly will be from the 1900s.
But that's freaky to think actually how close all of that stuff is.
Yes, that's the other thing that starts occurring to you is like these lives are so short and all this stuff has happened so quickly.
In all of human history, it's really freaky.
I've reached a phase, this one's scary to me. It makes the whole thing feel very precarious. I'm like, oh, these lives are so short. How do people get things done? How are we moving things forward? By the time someone figures it out, it's over.
Over. But it's the sheer mass of humanity is just moving shit forward. But then it is inconceivable because you're like Thomas Edison, who may not be the greatest example because apparently he's kind of an asshole.
Well, everybody
Stole people's
was, right?
inventions
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But it's like, how did you do all of this? I'm 56 and I'm like, I'm running out of time. How am I going to contribute? I'm not really, but I suppose we all are, whether we know it or not.
There's a
We're
line in the
driving things
movie
forward.
that brought me to that place I've been honing in on, which is like, oh, we're just recycling ideas. I think because you're talking so much about, well, you give someone the Stoic.
Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius.
Meditations.
It was that fucked me up. I was like, Marcus Aurelius knew more than we know.
Or at least was new stuff that we feel like we're just getting to now or something.
Or maybe providing scientific evidence too.
Yeah, but you're right. Like he had this shit figured out then. But then you're like, maybe even being the emperor of Rome, he had more time to sit around and actually think about shit.
Pretty boring, I think.
I think there was
that
a lot of
helped.
time to kill, even for those guys.
Yes.
There must have been.
And then now I wonder, we're so entertained, will we ever progress? I guess AI will do all the progression for us.
I suppose so.
It is this movie, though, that really amplified my feelings surrounding it because you're a history teacher and you're teaching
All these old school classical
Western
values, so they're the bedrock
civilization.
of everything. They're defunct.
Yeah, and they are our culture. They're the software we run.
Totally. Whether we try to avoid it or not, it's so deeply encoded in everything that it's there all the time.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So you have this incredible experience in 2004 and with Alexander Payne. Now, I'm going to be honest. I really debated whether or not I would bring this up because it puts you in a very tricky situation.
Oh, my God.
But I have heard a few interviews with him
Oh, my
where I
God.
thought like an NPR and I was like, does he like actors?
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Really? Does
Yeah, I
he
was
come
like,
across
does
as sounding like he doesn't?
Yes, maybe we just get in the way of what he's trying to do. That was the sense I got. But then I was reading about how beautiful your guys' collaboration is.
I think he likes actors a lot, actually.
Oh, okay.
To some extent, knowing him as well as I know him now, there's a bit of enjoying playing the contrarian and enjoying undercutting things.
Okay.
And undercutting expectation. And if somebody says something to him that strikes him as a little schmaltzy, he's going to take the piss out of it a little bit.
Yeah, someone's trying to be saccharine about the
Or something.
experience.
He can't help himself, but sort of
I
like
like
want to
that.
undercut
Okay.
it.
That makes
Because
sense.
I think he actually likes actors very much.
Okay, that's a great
Yeah,
I think
very
he might have
much.
just been being sassy and sarcastic.
He's a little sassy. I think he's gotten less so,
Okay.
actually. He's mellowed over time in my experience of him. Still, though, his nature is to just be contrarian, irreverent.
I mean, I will say he is one of my all-time favorites. There's these, I live for them when I'm watching a movie where, and I can name them, where like you're watching it, you think it's this, you think it's this.
Yeah.
One thing happens
Yeah.
and you go, oh, we're
Something
on this right.
Yeah. The movies are also full of all this, not irrelevant stuff, but kind of ancillary stuff that's like, do you really need to see this
It's
person?
not the
like-
flashy stories.
No, but it's also all these kind of private moments of people doing shit. You don't need to see me throw a football in this movie.
Right.
But somehow it feels really important
Yes.
to see this private moment this person's having. But it's filled with stuff like that.
Well, and then later when you guys are playing pinball, is that what it's called? Pinballing? The little ball?
Candlepin.
So when you're doing candlepin, though, the kid is helping you, and it's kind of a very sweet moment.
Very sweet.
And
And the
because
ice
we've seen you
skating
throw the
stuff, too.
football,
Yeah.
it's a payoff in a way.
That's true. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. But all those private moments, me watching the kid ice skate, that's nice.
Well, this movie, it's beautiful. It's so nostalgic in the best way. It's very meticulously shot to look that way. Like it's a throwback visually, but I was shocked with just how wonderful the photography looks. It's so rich.
Cinematographer was great.
So I'm watching it last night. Kristen's just blowing through the living room to get the roller skates to take the kids to a birthday party, right? And I'm on the couch watching it. And she just walks over and she's, oh, what are you watching? And there's a close-up of you, and your character is, as they say, wall-eyed. But at that moment, she just looks over, and I haven't heard you called wall-eyed by another person
In the movie yet.
in the movie yet.
Yeah.
And she goes, wait, is Giamatti's eyes like had a real moment where
Yeah.
she's like, have I missed for the last 20
Yeah.
years that Paul has?
Listen, I had a friend I've known since I was 5 years old. Saw the movie and he said for the first 20 minutes of it, he felt bad because he was like, have I never noticed that his eye was like this?
Oh, it was
Yeah, which is great.
phenomenal.
It's
Almost the
great.
very next scene, two students are complaining about you and they call you wall-eyed. And
Yeah.
I text her, oh, it's a character thing.
Yeah, it's a character thing. We were all really happy that it worked out that well.
It's incredibly convincing.
Yeah.
You didn't want to tell anyone, but then you were on Stephen Colbert
know.
and they found in the credits. Did it annoy you to have that in?
No, not really. He gets you there early to rehearse and stuff. So I wore it around for about 2 weeks
Oh, okay.
to get used to it because I didn't want it to be. I also have a real thing about don't come near my eyes. I'm not squeamish about practically anything except my eyes for some reason. And the idea of the fucking contacts and stuff. So I wanted to make sure I got used to it at first. And actually, they're really amazing. You don't really notice them. I mean, you can't see, but you get used to them. Maybe he can't see either. So that actually contributes to it.
We just had Willem Dafoe on last week.
That was great. I listened. He was super interesting.
Yeah, isn't he incredible?
Yeah, he's amazing.
But he was talking about those teeth he had to wear in David Lynch's
Oh,
Wild at
yes,
Heart.
that's right. He has crazy teeth.
He's like, I put him in and then the character was just there.
Sure. I love stuff like that.
Okay. I don't know how to ask this question.
Oh, geez.
It's kind of to the movie star thing. The breathing and existing that you do is so natural. It's everything in the performance. The dialogue is incredible. And your mastery of all that complex historical stuff seemed very challenging. From the outside, I'm like, I would not want to learn any of these.
Complicated language, yeah.
It's not just that you have to memorize it. You have to know the point you're making.
Yes,
you have to understand the material you're referencing for it to be relevant.
Yeah.
So was there like a little crash course on this stuff?
No. Somebody said to me the other day, like, what kind of part would you like to play? And I said, I'd like to play a guy who doesn't talk very much. Right. Actually, because I frequently get the guys who talk a lot.
You've got that great voice.
Whatever it is. I frequently have to play these hyper-articulate people. I'm used to having a lot of words. So it's not like it's easy, but I think because I've had to talk a lot, and I think having done theater, it's like you get more proficient in talking bigger chunks of dialogue.
But you're always so articulate in all these roles, and yes, you always have heavy lifting that if I don't meet you, my assumption is you talk like that.
No, I don't.
No, but like Edward Norton, he actually talks like that.
He's a very articulate guy.
Right,
Yes,
so...
I'm less so.
I like that.
I used to be very bad at articulating anything. I think I've gotten better at it, but I'm not the most
great on
articulate
camera, though.
guy. Have I tanked this whole interview?
No. But I was just blown away with how naturally all that stuff came out.
But it takes work on my part. It's not easy. And I look at it and go, I could have done that better. It could have been delivered better. Oh, definitely. Especially that kind of stuff. I kind of go,
oh, no.
I don't know if you really are understanding what I said. I don't know if you're really following what I said.
I believe that guy is one of these geniuses that lacked either ambition or had some personal... There's so many. I knew so many people. Yes. Yeah. It alienates them from others.
Totally.
And then they're so insecure that the only thing they have the security in is a thing that further alienates you. It's a vortex.
It's that hilarious tragedy of the person, too, who just loves their own wit. He did, as a little boy, get people rewarding him for it. It's not so attractive in a 56-year-old man.
Okay, now your other knack that you have, and you must be aware of it. I'm going to weirdly compare you to my wife in this way. Oh. She can play an unlikable person on paper, and she does it perfectly, but she has a spirit that you're attracted to. So you keep doing these kind of impossible roles.
Yeah.
Sideways.
They're challenging.
What a fucking blowhard asshole.
That one's, I actually think the guy in this movie, I like him better. I actually think he's less of a blowhard.
I do too.
He's not self-pitying. There's something about this guy I like better. The other guy I don't like as much.
I agree with you 100%, but if we never go into the second or third act of this movie, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, making good points, but he's doing it all the wrong way.
And he's just harming people.
Yes, he's not doing it right.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
And I would love to point out as well, Davine Joy Randolph.
Amazing.
I loved that this storyline was put in this.
Totally.
So really quick, you're teaching
Essential.
at this really elite school.
Nobody likes me. I'm a prick.
You're there to keep the integrity of the education alive and punish these rich kids.
Yep.
You're clearly resentful that they're spoiled. And this gal is the cook, and her son got to go there.
Yes, he got to go there, and he's been killed in Vietnam.
Right.
Because 1970, 71. Then there's another kid. There's a student whose family sort of abandons him. Dominic Sessa. His name is. Yeah, who's never acted before.
No.
Did you not know that?
No.
That's the first thing.
Oh, what an asshole.
I know, right?
Fuck Dominic.
Now, to me, that's a far more incredible thing. He does those long monologues in one take.
No.
He did them in one or two takes. They found him at one of the high schools we shot at.
No.
Yep.
How old is he?
Now he's 21. He just turned 19. He was still in school at the school we shot at. Brilliant. Never done it
You've
before
had this
in his
experience
life.
twice. Win-win. That kid was
That's
a
true.
real state champion.
That's true.
I met him.
Yep.
And he, to me, I'm like, well, here's the new
Amazing.
Sean Penn.
Amazing. And that was interesting because I remember Tom McCarthy, the director, saying, I can either get an actor and sort of make him look like he wrestles, or I can do the wrestler and hope he can act, which was the smarter thing, because I think you really need a kid who knows how to do that. And he found this kid who, again, had never acted before in his life.
His wrestling makes that movie.
It does.
If you don't see him do that shit, the movie's not grounded and I don't care.
You got to get the kid who really knows the world of it and is that thing.
He turned out to be brilliant.
Brilliant.
Okay, so with this kid, wow.
The interesting thing is there was another kid they were thinking of putting in it who was a much more seasoned kid and good. Everything about Dominic, though, I was like, just look at the kid. And he looks looks like he's from the 70s.
My wife, that was the other thing she said. She said, how could that actor be alive today?
His hair was like that already. It's just something about his face.
Yes.
When I was young and my brother's friends or older kids who were in high school, they looked like they were 40. And if you look at them again, they still look, you look at a high school yearbook from them, they all look like
and they
they're
wear
40.
business suits and stuff.
Yeah, they all like big white ties, glasses and stuff.
Driving
They all
Buicks.
they all look like they're 40. So he has that quality of looking like a kid and looking older too, like the 70s. And I thought it was great too, because he's making this kind of memory movie about the 70s. And if you're doing that, do the 70s thing and put the kid who's never done anything in it.
Which was also a
Like
thing.
Bud Cort or like the woman in Days of Heaven, Linda Mann. Do the really cool 70s thing and put the person who's never
This
done
is also a very Alexander Payne thing to do,
I think
right?
so, yeah. Chris Klein he did that with.
Yes, in Election, there
Yeah.
seem to be a few people that, I'm like, are they actors?
And he'll do that with small parts too. If there's somebody who's the store guy, why don't we put the guy who actually runs the store in the movie? So he does that too.
Did you have a beautiful time doing it? I mean,
Yeah, I had a
so
great
often
time
on
with
these movies, I think people would be comforted to know that what you're seeing on screen is weirdly kind of happening.
In this movie, for sure. In the other movie I did with him too, also the case. He creates this sort of atmosphere where it's very intimate.
Yeah, I read in an interview you were saying that your character in Sideways, in retrospect, kind of paralleled what you were going through in real life in a sense.
Yes, I think so.
You were getting divorced and you were going through a lot of stuff.
I've been a little bit past that, but yeah.
And then you feel like in some bizarre way these two are connected.
There's a similarity in the characters and then in the movie. Yeah. Now it's a whole weird loop that gets closed now 20 years later. And in some ways, it's not the same character, but it's similar. And it's like you're seeing this guy 20 years on.
Yeah. I didn't finish the point I was making.
Yeah.
So you do these kind of impossible characters where they're so unlikable, and then yet your heart is breaking for them and you want so bad for them to be embraced and welcomed in. And I wonder, when you're reading things, do you ever think like, ooh, this is unlikable? Do you have the inner confidence that you go like, I can pull this off?
I have to take a leak.
Oh, good.
Does it happen to
No, I love this. I generally pee every 25 minutes, so it's comforting to know you're on a similar schedule. We should get some kind of a sponsor specific for this one. Like, there's some medicine that helps you not pee in the middle of the night, I think. Or flow something.
Or adult diaper.
Sure. Depends. Might want to step in.
It's depend, actually. It's not
Oh, it
depend.
is?
Yes, it is. Because I remember I was sitting around once with a bunch of people, and I discovered a friend of mine was the voice of Outback Steakhouse.
Oh,
and I was like, you're
wonderful.
kidding me. I didn't know it. He was Australian. I thought the guy doing that was not actually Australian. And he was like, well, they make me exaggerate even my existing accent. We were talking about something, and we started joking about, like, can you imagine being the guy who has to do depends? And we were all laughing about it. And one of these guys had gotten kind of quiet, and he said, it's depend. It's depend. Actually.
Oh, no.
And we said, no. And we said, really? It's depend? No, it's depends. He goes, no, it's depend because I'm the voice of depend.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, yeah, it's exactly the reaction. I was a little worried. It was like, no, really, Chris? Are you wearing them
That
right now?
would have been my assumption.
No, it wasn't.
I, in fact, maybe wouldn't have even asked any follow-up questions.
No,
once
I had to. I had to know.
How great. So you had 3 because you already have your Liberty. What campaign did you do?
What did I do?
You
Was
did
it
an
Liberty
insurance.
Mutual
Yeah, I
Insurance?
think
yeah,
so.
that's
Yeah,
amazing. You
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, so what a room to sit in. We've got,
Yes.
we've got Outback,
Really
Depend,
auspicious.
Yes.
No, I know, it was
If
really
Will Arnett
something.
would have walked in and done a GMC commercial.
Totally. The Outback Steakhouse thing blew my mind.
Yeah. I'd like to meet the guy who does Foster's, Australian for
Yeah,
beer.
and what's really funny to me is that I could have sworn this was not actually an Australian because it sounds so hokey, the accent. And he was like, well, believe me, they keep making me make it even more extreme.
Well, they're selling the fantasy.
Exactly.
You're going to the Outback.
Exactly, the fantasy.
Bloomin' Onion.
Bloomin' Onion.
So do you ever read these scripts you get offered and think, they're going to hate me at the end of this?
I don't really worry about it that much. The one thing I read and I thought, well, this is going to be a lot, was the John Adams show that I did. Because I thought, this is a lot of an unlikable guy. And I thought, I'm going to make him really unlikable because that's not the expected thing to see one of these guys be a huge pain in the ass and not a very nice guy and kind of crazy. It's like 9 hours of watching somebody just be a pain in the ass over and over and over.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because I had read the McCullough book,
Yes.
and I loved him.
I actually came out of it not liking Jefferson and thinking, what an asshole.
And I've now read like 5 other books of that period.
Yeah.
And I've yet to read the one that's positive about Jefferson.
I know.
Other than he was brilliant.
I was completely surprised. I thought he was the good guy.
Right.
And I'm
You
like,
growing up, you think
what
that.
an asshole, actually.
Terrible.
And also like a real politician. Kind of backstabby and full of shit.
Born rich, died in debt.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
traveling Europe with a 13-year-old girl.
Totally.
And he
All of
pregnant.
it.
I mean, it's just
Not
vile,
good.
dude.
Weird, double-crossing people. I had no idea.
In fact, I've made it a mild commitment. I'm like, I've got to read one positive version.
I think probably you gotta have to go back in time, World War II era or pre-World
Those
War II,
biographies.
when people were not gonna write a hatchet job about one of those guys.
Right.
About the McCullough thing, because you're right, he's much more appealing.
He has
now.
integrity.
Yeah, well, he does. So does the guy I play in the Holdovers, by the way. He's got integrity.
Yes.
But it's coming out the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah.
I read that book and I thought it was much more admiring. And I was like, it got to be other shit going on. And so I read another biography of him. It wasn't that it was negative, but it was much more like, ooh, wow, what a weird, dark guy. And then just kind of looking at stuff and reading stuff about the family and the kids.
That's
His
telling.
kids were messed up.
Yeah.
And I was like, this couldn't have been so great. And then thinking about being a parent was different. They treated kids, I mean, you were 10, you were an adult now. You
Yeah.
go out into the world. And I don't think the idea of children, the way we think of it now, that comes along later in human history.
Let's start with the fact that you lost half of your kids. I think
Right.
about this all the time.
Yeah,
like
right.
you couldn't have been as close to them because that would have been insufferable. There
No.
had to be some level of detachment.
Yes.
I mean, you think about Abe Lincoln being in the White House, he's already lost 2 or 3 kids and he's leading the country.
But also, most of the times you're going to need the kid to do a job around the house. You can't
was
have this
totally different.
preciousness about it in the same way that I think we did.
Well, you hear about different cultures. As we talked about, I did major in the useless major anthropology. A lot of cultures don't name kids till they're 2 or 3 years old. Let's see how this
They're
turns
attached.
out. Yeah, so I do think it was different and hard for us to comprehend.
Yeah. The whole idea of people are the same, human nature is the same, I don't know that I buy it entirely. I think a lot of things are different. Consciousness changes in some weird way.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say I like it. I love liking my kids and loving
Sure,
them.
absolutely, me too. Absolutely. I'm inclined to go with the way
Yeah.
we're dealing with it now.
But I can also admit I would be of my era. I think a lot of people have a hard
guy,
time.
like breaking the mold.
Yes, I think people
Well,
have a hard
who would?
time
That's-
accepting that. Bill Burr has a great stand-up routine. He's like, all these white people are like, if I was alive then, I would have been setting. No, you would have been doing exactly what you're doing now. Nothing. You're
Nothing.
tweeting.
I think that that's a really harsh truth.
Yeah.
Talk about fantasy and wanting to fantasize about who you are or would have been or anything.
Yeah. So what got you over the hurdle with John Adams?
Well, I think it was looking at that book and thinking to myself, I don't know, these guys seemed kind of crazy in some ways. I mean, it's a very different world and they seem sort of insane. And I've talked about this a bunch of times, but it is interesting. A guy in the makeup department, because I had to age in it.
Yeah.
So these guys did a lot of research about him physically. So they'd be able to say, well, this happened to him. I mean, he lost his teeth and he went blind and we didn't do all that
Did he
stuff.
have gout too? Do I remember?
I'm sure he did. They all fucking did.
Yeah,
none of them
yeah.
had teeth and they all went deaf and went blind. And then he lived to be 90, which was like crazy.
And he died on the same day as
Same day as
Jefferson?
Jefferson. They both lived to be very old men. But he found some scholar who'd put together from all of his letters, particularly his letters to his wife, but other people, every time he mentioned something about physical ailments, and it was
Endless.
pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. I have the shits. I have a headache. My eyes hurt. My teeth hurt. I can't walk. Depressed all the time. Taking to your bed, which was the thing that people did when they were depressed.
Yeah, they would lose months, some of these people.
Months. He would.
Yeah.
He would have huge bursts of activity and then he'd be prostrate in bed for weeks. And it would be all this like, my eyes hurt, my teeth hurt, I can't breathe, constant hypochondria. But again, life was really precarious. So, I mean, yeah, constant. And a lot of it might have been imagined. But I thought, this is the guy.
That's true. I worked with someone who was legendarily a prick and a great actor. And I was like, how'd you do with them? Because this dude was kind of alpha and older, and so
Yeah.
was this dude. So this actor said, at first this guy was a prick. And I was like, yep, he's what I thought. And then I noticed a few weeks in, and I asked him, do you have back problems? And he said, oh, I can barely live. My fucking back is
There you go.
so
There you
messed
go.
up and has been, and I work through it. And on some level, I don't think anyone should ever be an asshole, but you go, yeah, I don't know what it's like to be in crippling pain all day long and have to work.
And the sort of bound up thing of that's like,
What
maybe
even
you have-
caused the
maybe
back
you have back
pain.
problems because you're fucking
Yes.
stressed out and grinding
Tight.
away at everything and tight. And that's exactly what it was.
Right. So it's like I'm comparing my cheeriness to John Adams and I have air conditioning, I drive around in
All
the
of
car
it.
and
Yeah,
my
totally.
food in my fridge every
Totally,
day. And
totally,
fucking, I've
totally.
never been attacked by an animal. That's a really good insight.
Yeah, it really
They were
was.
living a fucking brutal life.
Brutal life. And you couldn't drink the water, you'd get dysentery. So everybody was like slightly hammered all the time.
And he
'cause they
didn't
were drinking.
drink.
He did actually.
Oh, he
though.
did?
Well, he didn't drink, but he'd have a big tankard of hard cider in the morning.
Oh.
They were all fucking half cocked
okay.
half the time.
Yeah, he's very judgmental of other people's drinking.
Sure.
He only drank in
He
the
wasn't
morning.
drinking, I'm just having hard cider.
Okay. Thank you for indulging me on that. There's two last things about the Holdovers I wanted to ask you about. One is simply, I shot in that same cute little town. Is it in the Berkshires? The one with the waterfall. There's a little
Yes.
dam in town.
North Central Massachusetts.
So
Yeah.
I was there doing this movie called The Judge. There's no place to stay really there other than bed and breakfasts. So this bed and breakfast was myself, Jeremy Strong, before Succession, in Robert Duvall at the end of the hallway.
Wow.
And I would go down the hallway and I'd sit at the end of Robert's bed while he was in bed with the covers up. And he would just tell me stories for 2 hours. Back to your point of looking at your current position on the planet in time and space and going, how did we end up at the foot of Robert Duvall's bed asking him about Coppola?
Amazing.
But anyways,
Love
just
to
watching
think
the
about
movie.
that kind of thing.
Yes, watching the movie made me
That's
very nostalgic,
amazing.
like 10 years ago.
I was at a thing once. I saw him and I was like, I can't even be in the same room. They were like, do you want to meet him? I was like, no, I don't want to meet him. They brought him over anyway. And I had to meet him. And I was just like, oh my God. I felt,
I saw you.
well, exactly.
I saw you in the thing with the thing.
That's what I felt ashamed.
How do you think I felt? You're a brilliant actor. It's won Golden
With
Globes.
this crippling sense of shame, just being in his presence. And there was an awkward silence, and he did. He goes, so where you from? Like that. And I was like, New Haven, Connecticut. He goes, hey, pizza.
Best pizza in
Yeah, pizza. He goes, hey, I go straight at pizza. That wasn't so good. I was like, oh, God bless you for finding something to fucking talk about. Because I feel shame.
If you are in a pinch with Duvall, you just talk about food because
Yes.
he knows the best food in every place.
That was what we talked about.
At what point he goes, what do you think the best barbecue is? In Texas. And I go, I love Salt Lake. Oh, Salt Lake. Salt Lake. Smitty's. Smitty's is the best. And he like lit me up because
Totally.
I didn't know Smitty's was the best.
No, and he got pissed at me. He was just like, no, wait a minute. It's like, oh, it's not so good. It's not so great. What's so great about it? I've had better pages in Chicago. And I just was like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you.
Oh.
Dueling Duvall, too. This doesn't happen very much.
I'm so glad you had that experience. Okay, so anyway, that town made me really nostalgic. Now, did I understand you correctly in an interview? I think what I heard you saying is that there's no video village.
Not on Alexander's movies, no.
Does he watch playback somehow?
This time he occasionally had one of those clamshell things to look at, and that was different from Sideways, but he very rarely ever looked at it. And no, he doesn't have any video. And on Sideways, when I first walked on the set, I was like, where's all that stuff?
Yeah, for people who don't know, on any set, you have the stage or where the action's happening, and just off to the side, you have a bank of monitors, usually 2 or 3 monitors. The director's watching what
It's
the
a live
camera's
feed
catching.
from the camera.
And if you have 3 cameras going, there's 3 different
Yeah.
screens,
Yeah.
and then that's all being recorded digitally, and you can review the take afterwards,
Yeah.
which is very common.
Jerry Lewis invented it, supposedly.
Oh,
I've
told
heard
that.
that. I don't know if it's
too.
true or not, but I'm told that he came up with it.
Because he was directing himself.
Yeah, you want to choreograph a thing in the frame like that, it really makes sense. So no, there isn't one.
And do you even feel, because it's a period piece and it's being shot like
Yeah.
it's in the 70s, and your co-star looks
Yeah.
impossibly like he's from the 70s,
Yeah.
and then there's no video village.
Yeah.
Did the whole experience feel a little bit analog in a great way?
Yeah, but Sideways did too. It's like he makes 70s movies anyway. The feeling of it, I imagine, is what it felt like making a Hal Ashby movie.
It feels very Hal Ashby.
That's my fantasy about it. But for sure, on this one in particular, yeah, it really felt 70s. And the sound was done that way. Nobody was mic'd. It was all
Oh, really? You
boomed
were
and
not
like
mic'd?
mono sound. He wanted it all to sound that way. But the absence of the video village thing's huge. It's a completely different ballgame without that stuff there.
Oh, it sounds so intriguing.
It's great.
Well, he certainly won't hire me now that I've said disparaging things about the interview I heard. But now it's been cleared up. You pointed out that, no, I would love him.
Yeah, no, I think you would.
Okay, I do want to ask you one thing about Chinwag, your
Please,
podcast.
thank you.
First of all, who is Stephen Asma?
He's a philosophy professor at Columbia College in Chicago.
No way.
He teaches philosophy at an arts college.
What a great co-host.
He's amazing. You hear philosopher and you think it's going to be one thing that it's not. He's not like that
I
at
don't
all.
think that. Our favorite guests, we just had it where the person started as a mathematician. They now teach law at Yale, but also a master's in philosophy. They're my favorite people to talk to because I just love the pushing on every angle of every thought. And it's like, oh, is this just cultural? Is that really amoral?
Yeah.
Why? Explain that to me.
And if they have the ability to convey stuff simply like that, it's the best. You really are like, I can ask you anything.
Yes.
And you're going to have some interesting answer. And you are going to start from a place of saying to me, this isn't the ultimate answer.
Yeah, I love it.
It's that ability to just go, there's always going to be another step beyond this to think more about this. He's amazing like that, Stephen.
How did you become...
I happened to see him give a talk online because I am very interested and have been all my life in very strange things. And as I keep talking about fantasizing and imagination and consciousness, I'm very interested in stuff like this. But I'm very interested in UFOs. I'm very interested in the Sasquatch. I'm very interested in this stuff. I'm very interested in why people believe in this stuff. And he gave a talk about imagination and consciousness. And I'd happened to see it was during a COVID lockdown. So I went and watched it and thought, this guy's really interesting. And he's really cool seeming. It's very accessible.
He's fun.
Yeah. He played professional guitar with Bo Diddley, backup guitar. So he's got this whole other thing going on.
Yeah.
So I just got in touch with him. And then we just started talking a lot. And then he was like, oh, we should just do, I had no idea of doing something like this. And then somebody was weird enough to actually give us money to do it.
Yes.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been amazing because I love shit like this. And I've not really ever talked about it much outside of a very small group of people.
Yeah, it's interesting because that stuff doesn't appeal to me. No, I'm going to tell you why it doesn't. I think it's all about your childhood.
Yes.
And I was thinking about the fact that your father was a member of the Scroll and Key.
He was, yes, which is one of those.
Do you think that's a
secret
seed
societies.
that gets planted?
That's
Because that's
interesting.
very fantastical.
It is very fantastical. And I think you're probably right that goes in there at some level. And again, it's all that British fantasy of the library with the secret books and the secret hidden panels and
What's
all that
really
shit.
going on.
Yes. I think, too, though, I happened to take in a lot of things as a kid. The culture I was consuming, I was unsupervised a lot of the time. So I was watching a lot of Universal horror movies, and The Twilight Zone was a humongous thing for me.
Yeah.
And In Search of. My childhood in the 70s, this stuff was everywhere.
Yes.
Easter Island and all this shit. It just went in there.
My character defect is I was deceived by many stepdads, by older brothers, by adults who expressed one agenda and it turned out they had another one. So if
Interesting.
anything, I am on the highest alert for being
Interesting.
fooled.
Bullshit.
Yes. I'll say I'm kind of good at it too. Like we do this show where we interview people about crazy stories and we don't know the stories, but I have this
That's very
knack for
interesting.
predicting where they're going because I'm just on high alert from
That's
being
interesting.
fooled. So anything like Sasquatch, I'm like, fucking bullshit. That guy's in a suit and it gets in my way. I
Yeah.
actually rob myself of probably enjoying some fun.
No, it's a really interesting question, though.
Yeah, and it sounds like your dad was pretty trustworthy.
He was pretty trustworthy. So why am I interested in this shit? I have a very good friend who is a voting rights lawyer. He does a real important thing in the world. And he has frequently, known him for a long time, been like, why are you wasting your fucking time on this? And I'm always like, it's a really good question. Am I wasting my time? I think the reason Stephen was so interesting to me is because I see it in a larger way. Like I'm interested in why.
Yeah, what's the
Why
function
is
of
Sasquatch
this?
even a thing?
Why are conspiracy theories
And that, which
so-
is why I think anthropology was interesting to me. Why do people believe the weird fucking things they believe? I'm fascinated by the whole alien abduction thing that happened in the 80s and the 90s. People are being kidnapped by aliens. And I've always said, if you could prove to me it was actually aliens, I might think that was less interesting than if it was just something in people's heads. Because why the fuck is that happening?
That I'm supremely interested
Well,
in.
ultimately, that is what it comes down to a lot for me.
Can I add two wrinkles
Please.
as well? One of them I did learn in anthro, and one I learned washing cars in Detroit. So when I was in Detroit,
Amazing.
I worked with like 7 Filipino dudes who were all from the Philippines.
Yes.
So all of them had ghost stories from the Philippines. Very, very detailed. One, they hit a witch on the road and the blood was dripping down the window as they were
Humongous
going
part of
90 miles an hour.
cultures like
Yes.
that.
even though I'm a skeptic, I'm on a bullshit thing, I have great respect for culture. And so I have
Absolutely.
often said this, and it infuriates Monica when she's here. I will say they do have ghosts. I don't have ghosts in my culture, in my world.
They do.
I'm telling you, all seven
get
of
it.
these dudes, they do.
But this is that thing that I'm saying too about human nature. Has it changed? People are different, actually.
Yes.
People are different. Cultures are different. Shit happens there that just does not happen here for whatever reason. It's not a sense of exoticizing them or something
no.
like that.
It's actually just honoring what they're telling you.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Japan, 99% of the population believes in ghosts. And I'm like, there are ghosts here. Now, I happen to believe in ghosts.
Yeah, great.
But that's because...
I'm glad you do. If you're doing a show on ghosts and you don't believe in them.
Well, no, because Steven doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Steven's completely
that's a fun
skeptical.
pairing.
But I've had enough experiences that I can explain away
You
skeptically.
have the sword
that I-
situation when you were playing
I
Hamlet.
go, that one I can't explain. There's a handful of ones I can't explain, and therefore I can't say I don't believe in them. But there's plenty that I can go, I doubt my own experience. I don't think that was something supernatural.
I've had weird shit, and I just don't have an explanation, but I'm kind of comfortable with not having an explanation,
Yes.
if that makes sense. I think a lot of
I
people are
think
very
that's great.
uncomfortable not having it, and then so they come to a conclusion.
You're comfortable with ambiguity. You're comfortable with things not being closed off in a neat way.
Yeah, exactly.
I
I'm
am
okay
too.
with the fact that it's a mess.
I like things
Yeah.
that don't have a solution or an ending or an ambiguity. I like it.
Me too.
That takes a lot of tolerance.
Yes. So the second story is this professor I had at UCLA. She had done her field work in sub-Saharan Africa, and the actual class was on witches and magic. And so where she did her field work, people get spells put on them a lot. She became really, really sick while she was there. Now, I cannot tell you how much I trust this woman. She's empirical as you could get as a human being. She goes, look, I was there for a long time. I got ill. I saw some doctors. Nothing was working. This older woman who was recognized as kind of a healer pulled me aside and said, you know, you have a spell. I'm pretty sure who put it on you because you're an outsider and this and that. And of course, she's like, I respect that they believe in that, but of course, I don't have a spell on me. It got worse and worse and worse. And she went and had the spell taken away. And it happened. She was relieved and she was fine. And she goes, look, what I'm telling you is that couldn't happen to me here, but I'm telling you that happened to me
It
there.
happens there.
That is the power of it. And so I do believe in the power of it. I do believe you could be under a spell, even though I don't believe I could be under a spell
And
here.
again, that's some kind of intense generative power of imagination. I think it's a genuine sensory organ like sight, smell, taste, and you can generate. And if it's an entire culture believing in this, something's going to change. I know this all sounds very kind of kooky. I do buy it, but I'm still somewhat skeptical about it.
Yeah, I basically just have this kind of worldview where it's like, I know what's real for me. I'm not arrogant enough to think that's what's real
well,
for
that's a
everyone
good-
else.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a good worldview.
Oh, this has been lovely. So you talk about ghosts and Sasquatch.
All kinds of things. We have expert guests, but we also have like Tom Hanks will come and we'll talk about time travel. And hopefully it's nice for people to come on and they don't have to talk about what they might always talk about.
Yes, I think it'd be so fun to come on and just chat about this weird thing you believe in.
It would be great if you did it.
Yeah, I'd be joining Steven probably in his point of view, but we could
You
really
would be,
riff.
and
Yeah.
that's great. But we also talk, because I'm interested in Roman history, so we talked to a Roman historian. We talked to a guy who's a big researcher in psychedelics and stuff like that.
yeah.
We talked to a dream and sleep expert.
Psychedelics, another thing.
Fascinating.
Oh, well, I got to tell you, Paul, this
What
has
a
been
delight.
a delight.
It really
This
was
has
a delight.
It's been so delightful. I want everyone to check out The Holdovers. It's a fantastic movie. If you like Alexander Payne, it is bullseye Alexander Payne, and just a beautifully shot movie. And you just get to spend 2 hours in another time and space. And you're just fucking brilliant.
Thank
You're going to
you.
get nominated, and that
Oh,
kid is
please.
impossibly good. I hate him now that I know it's his first thing. And Davine
Davine is amazing.
Yes, it's just oozing out of her. And then listen to Chinwag podcast, available, I presume, everywhere.
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 Thank you, sir.
All right, be well.
Next up is the fact check. I don't even care about facts. I just want to get into your pants.
So, update.
Okay.
You're sad.
Oh, that's an update. Yeah.
you're sad because your grandpa died.
Yeah.
Yeah. People were following along.
Yeah. I don't look at the comments, but I assumed maybe some people asked or want. I mean, the holiday special was a lot about that.
Yes. People really liked that.
They
I read a
did?
lot of comments about
Good.
that. I think a lot of people said that they were grateful that you had shared that because they too were missing someone they loved. And that, for so many people, Christmas
Hard.
brings that exact thing up. So it's largely ignored everywhere else. So to hear you share about going through it, I read a bunch of comments that said they were grateful that you shared that. Yeah.
That's the purpose of sharing it.
That's right.
Because hopefully people feel seen. But yes, so at that point, felt like the end, but it was not the end.
Well, that's the tricky thing about these people at the end of the line. It's really hard to nail down.
I know.
Yeah. 2 days before my dad died, I got a call from my Uncle Randy. Like when I left, he was nonverbal.
Yeah.
He was like there's a body laying there. And he called me 2 days later. He's like, this is miraculous. Your dad woke up and I'm like, selfishly, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do another round of it. And then the next day he died.
Oh, then, they call that the rally.
Oh.
It's called that.
Okay, well, he had a rally. And then the
Yeah.
next call was like 36 hours later on New Year's Eve, and it was the hospital saying he passed.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Well, what's really confusing is it was a different year there because of the time change. He died in 2013 there, but 2012 here.
Weird.
Yeah.
But his death certificate says 2013.
If you want to acknowledge that as being a legitimate certificate.
We don't have to.
Okay. This is relativity. This is Einstein's relativity. My dad died in 2012.
But your brother's dad died in 2013.
No, he was in Oregon.
Oh, shit.
My uncle's brother died in
Yeah.
2013.
Weird. It's like a riddle.
It's a riddle. Delta brought home a math riddle yesterday that was so pleasing.
It was?
Oh my God.
What is it?
Well, I solved it.
Do you want her to come up and say it?
Shit, should we get her up here?
Maybe.
Yeah,
to
let's
tell
do
her
it. Let's do
riddle.
it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hi. Would you ask Delta if she would come up to present her math riddle from yesterday?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're working on a school audition. Hold on. Dad wants to know if you will go up and present your math riddle to him in the attic. Why?
We want to record it.
We want to record it because it's a good riddle. It's worth repeating.
All right, she's on her way.
Okay, thank you. D-Money!
Oh my gosh, we have the most.
Oh, you brought the
special
piece of paper
visitor.
too. Perfect. Here, sit here, my love. Hit everyone with the riddle. They're so good.
So the problem was, how can you add 8 4s together so that the total adds up to 500?
Yeah.
Add
How do you?
8 fours.
You have 8 4s to work with. How do you get to 500? Don't spoil it yet, Delty.
Oh God.
Let them mull it up. Rob, don't search for the answer.
No,
Think
I'm
of
writing,
the answer.
I'm writing 4.
Yeah, I'm writing 4s down too. Okay, how do you get
have-
to 500?
Yeah. And Delta, because I'll probably embellish, but how long do you think it took me to figure out the answer? It was one of my proudest moments.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Wow. And is it a riddle or is it
No,
like
it works.
math?
It's not bullshit.
Yeah, it's a
no
math
trick.
magical wizard challenge. We do it every week.
Math magical wizard
Okay,
challenge.
can I use a calculator to
You can do whatever you
try
want.
some
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
out?
Yeah, do some stuff. Make some moves. Delta, how was your day at school?
Good.
It was good? Anything eventful happen?
No.
It's 500.
No?
I'm going to leave soon, though.
What do you mean?
I'm going to have a play date with Freddie.
Oh, he's on his way over?
No, I'm going to his because everyone's coming over tonight. So
Oh, Aaron and Ruthie and all that? you
yeah.
mean? And
Oh,
you
they're
wanna
back?
And you want to be out of here?
No, and the grandparents are going to be here too. So it's
Just too much?
Mom says it's too stressful to have Freddie here over too.
Oh. So you want to hang, but it makes more sense to go to his house because our house is so full.
And we might be able to make pizzas because his mom's a cook.
Ooh.
That's so cool.
I know.
And I always keep your friends private on here because I don't know how their parents feel. But I think I feel okay saying that Freddie's the coolest dude I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't he radical?
Yeah.
I mean, what a guy.
I don't think that I can do it fast enough for this to be
Okay.
like, good.
Do you want me to walk you through the answer?
Yeah.
I've got an answer for it.
Oh, you did
Did you
it?
look it up, you piece of
No,
shit?
it's in this.
He just did it. Okay, give us
All right,
your.
what are you going to do?
It's 444
plus 44 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4.
Yeah.
444.
Good job, Rob.
Yeah.
Plus, what was it?
444 plus 44, which gives you 488. Plus 4, 512.
Plus 4 plus 4.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Isn't that good?
I was in my multiplication. I hadn't got yet to adding. That would have taken me so long to figure it out.
But-
Nice.
That's a fun one, isn't it? I really liked it. It was
That
very
is
satisfying.
Good. That is good.
Yeah, because I started going like, okay, 4 times this. 4.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, none of that. Yeah, 8 4s only adds up to 32. Now, how are we going to get to 500?
I'm surprised you guys got it so fast because there's so many things to try out.
That's right. But you have to first get yourself as close to 500 as you can, right?
That's what I did.
Yeah.
Me and TT were going down a whole nother route doing like a 9th grade problem that was way out of a 3rd grader's lead, but then we told Dad the problem. He just
Figured it out.
I
2
also
seconds later.
I use that as a
Had
clue
it.
that it's a 3rd grader problem.
Oh, so
Trying to
what
figure out what kind
require-
of math that they would have been using.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because you start squaring stuff and you're like, oh no, that would be a kabillion.
Yeah.
So it's not like,
Yeah, I thought there was going to be multiplication and then addition and then subtraction.
oh, that would
like
be a good
using
wrinkle.
it all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no.
Well, if you needed to use 10 4s, you could have done that.
And then
You could have added an extra and then minused an extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you should hit TJ with another problem. How do you get to 500 with 10 4s? Not only give TJ the answer, give them a riddle.
Yeah, the Math Magical Wizarding Challenge is our homework, and it's like really fun. Sometimes there's like, how do you get the guy across the river? He has a chicken,
A fox.
a chicken and fox.
And some
Like
seed.
And what? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Oh,
That's a
and-
classic. Do you know that one, Monica?
Say it one more time.
There's a guy with a boat, and on one side of the river, he's on the side of the river with a boat. He's got a chicken, a fox, and seed.
Right. Wait,
And
yes.
he can only bring one thing in the boat at once. And he can't leave the chicken and the fox together because the fox will eat the
yeah.
chicken. He can't leave the chicken and the seed together because the chicken will eat the
eats the
seed.
seed.
And you can only bring one thing in the boat at once. How does he get all 3 across the river?
What does he do?
He takes the feed over.
No, because then the fox would eat the chicken.
No. Oh, yeah. You're right. He takes the chicken over. Then he sails back. The chicken's on the other side. Then he grabs the fox. He brings the fox over, but then grabs the chicken and brings it back. Then brings the seed over.
We did a different version of that instead. We did 2 kids and 2 parents, and they had a boat, and either only one parent or 2 kids could go on the boat at one time. So it's the 2 kids get on. The answer is the 2 kids get on. One of the kids drops off the other kid on the other side. One of the kids rolls back. Then
Gets one of the parents.
and then goes to that side. Then the parent gets on, rows there. Then the kid switches with the parent that was on that side. So now there's a parent on that side. Rows back. Then.
Are you trying to get
I got it.
But
The
are you-
whole
and
family
then-
over.
the whole
and
family?
then the kid takes the other kid back there. Then there's one kid, and then the parent, and then goes back, switches with the parent. Then the kid that's on that side goes, grabs the kid, and then sails over to the other side.
It's a lot of trips, but you
It's a
do get the
lot
whole
of
family
trips.
there.
Wow. Great. I love this.
These are really fun. Will you keep? Maybe we'll do like monthly riddle segment with you.
Yeah.
Are you up for that?
Yeah.
Okay, I think people love riddles. They would love it.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
love it.
Well, I love you.
Okay.
And I'll miss you while you're at
Have
Freddy's.
fun at Freddy's.
Yeah,
Okay.
make some good pizza.
Love you guys.
Love you.
I was about to take off my seatbelt. Like, okay, let's go. Bye.
Bye,
I'm
Buttercup.
glad you're feeling better, Bunny.
My Lord, you're a
Oh,
magical human being.
gosh.
That'll clear up the blues.
Yeah, she does help. She does. That's why I feel like I kind of have to have a kid so that my parents feel happy again.
Oh, to make them happy.
Yeah.
Do they want that for you?
I think they'd be totally happy
Right.
if I had one. But they've done a good job of telling me that they don't need that.
Okay.
They are nice to me.
They are nice to you. But I can say from my point of view, grandkids would be fun at some point. But the big reward was having the kids. I don't really need more. It might be a fun like thing later, but like you're the reward. Their little Delta's out in Hollywood doing all this stuff.
I know. It's actually, they don't know yet. But if they had one, I do, like, I know, ding, 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 why I'm so sad. That relationship
Is so special.
So special.
Yeah. Although it would never be the one you have because you're not going to be dropping your kid off there.
I know. But your parents can be a different version
Yes.
to the grandkids. And I feel sad a little bit that my parents don't get to do that. They'd be so fun. They'd
Oh my
be
God,
like
your mom
such,
would love cooking all the
making
food for her.
so many sandwiches for this little
Yeah,
baby.
milkshake. Come home, nice layer of fat on every time she returns.
And the kid wouldn't be like me who gets annoyed over everything.
Right, they would love it.
Yeah, they'd love it. And it's
Yeah.
too bad she can't do that. And my dad would love it.
Mm-hmm.
He'd love having this little baby around.
To educate, explain how the world works.
And she would
from
like
his unique
it.
point of view.
She wouldn't mind if he's repeating himself.
Or taking positions we're not sure he even holds.
Yeah. She might even say, "Can you explain that one more time?"
Right.
And that's exactly what he wants to hear.
I'll do that for him next time around.
Yeah, so I think they would be incredible grandparents. So I feel
Yeah.
sad about that.
You're, at best, they'll have the relationship my mom has with my kids, which is like once a year they're going to see twice.
But they would.
They're
going to
live here. How long do you think you're going to allow that to
I
happen?
know.
Yeah, let's.
I know, but they want to play with my little baby.
I know they do, and that's very sweet. But at the 12-day marker when they're living in your house, you're going to be like, okay, let's schedule another one in a couple months.
But if I'm a single mom, I might like it.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyway, all of who knows?
A brand new baby plus your parents now living in your house, that's a lot of change.
I know. If I get pregnant soon and it's a boy,
Yeah.
I think it'll be my grandpa.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to be your
Grandpa?
children's grandpa.
Well, you'll be their uncle. Why do you have to be their
Because I'm your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do the math. Jesus Christ. How soon you forget.
You'll be their Los Angeles grandpa.
I will, and I will spoil her, and it's not my fucking responsibility
you're gonna
whether
be
she turns out to be a piece of shit.
You're
It'll
going to be
fun.
so upset when I have a boy.
Yeah, I will. I won't talk to you or that.
He won't be their grandpa.
Yeah,
Boys
I will.
need grandpas too.
Because I just had an experience recently. I was around a little boy, and what was clear to me is like he worshipped me. Like he wanted to be me.
God.
And I was like, oh, this would be fun to have a little guy that was trying to be like you. Would be so cute and sweet.
Oh no, this is the worst case scenario. My little boy comes over here and plays, and then he comes back over to my house, and I say something, and then they say, "That's wrong. Dax says this."
Well, no.
They're like, get out of my life.
You're missing the point for me, which is if they want to be like me, now I have a buddy to go ride motorcycles with and go to the dunes and like, you know what I'm saying?
I think my baby's going to be more into math.
I was around a little boy and I was like, yeah, I guess I would have liked a little boy.
You would have liked of whatever you had.
For
You would have
sure.
loved whatever.
But I'm never going to be my children's heroes. It's like it lines up gender-wise a little bit.
Can we say what happened?
What happened? You'll be reminding me.
We can cut it if she wouldn't like it.
Okay.
But the sweetest thing happened.
Oh, yeah.
On New Year's Eve, we were at the Richardsons, and you guys had just landed home and came straight to the Richardsons.
And Lincoln and I had spent the whole flight working on her admittance essay for this school she wants to get into.
Yes, she wants to get into a school, and one of the essay questions was,
who, alive or dead, do you admire?
Yeah.
And why?
And she wrote about me.
It's much better than that. The list started, the list was Monica, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Taylor Swift. And to be honest with you, Monica, and I love you, I was like, pick Taylor Swift because you're going to have so much to say about her and you know her whole life story. This is going to be a slam dunk. And she picked you.
She picked me.
Mhm.
It's the best thing that's ever happened to me or will ever happen to me.
Well,
It's
and she
so
started
flattering.
it.
It's crazy.
And she started this exercise by looking at Kristen and I immediately, and she goes, "I'm not going to pick either of you." Like,
Well,
be warned.
She also, that was probably smart because if she picked one of you, she might feel, and I think you two would be very happy if she picked one of the other of you.
I prefer she picked Kristen over
know.
me. Yes, of course.
But she, as a kid, that's hard to do. To like pick between your parents.
yeah.
And then they're both sitting there on the airplane and it's like,
Now, I saw it as a totally different thing. And for the record, Kristen doesn't really buy this theory, and you likely won't either. But what I took from it was really comforting to me. She wants to get in this school. She is a very smart person.
Very.
She knows people are interested in us a lot.
Oh.
She had a bit of a layup.
Mm.
And she didn't take it, and she didn't want to take it.
Oh.
To me, that was her displaying some integrity. Like, I want to get in this school, and I want it to have nothing to do with either of you.
That's a very interesting point. Could be.
I like to think that's what happened.
Could
Like,
be.
I was working on the other
I think
questions
it's just
with
she
her.
really admires me a lot.
That's look, the bottom line is you beat out Taylor Swift and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So
She also,
however it shook out, you really came out on
mine
top.
is me. We have the same people we look up to, so I also appreciate that.
Those two would be on your list as well.
Then I'd pick her.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
I'd pick her.
I look up to her.
Yeah, that's how I
I do.
interpreted that thing. Look, some kids go to a party and they go, "My dad's on the White Sox."
Yeah.
And she did the opposite of that, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. I think
which
that's
I
great.
like.
You admire.
I
Ding, ding,
admire,
ding.
yeah.
Anyway, it made me feel so good.
As it should.
And I was so flattered.
They adore you, both the girls.
Oh,
adore
I
you.
love them so much. Very
Congratulations.
honored. Thank you.
You beat out RBG and T.S. Eliot.
And T.S. Eliot.
Yeah.
T.S. Eliot didn't even make the cut.
Didn't even make the cut.
But I do feel very grateful.
You beat Obama.
I beat everyone.
You beat everyone.
I beat everyone in
Anyone
the
you could
whole world.
list. You beat Jesus.
I love winning.
Yeah, you won.
It's a real privilege to get to be around them for
To be a staple in their life.
So many days of their life.
They don't have a memory without you.
Well, they have like vacations and stuff, but I'm
Well,
there.
I mean, they can't
Oh, I
think of a
see.
time in their life when they didn't know you.
Yeah, I know. It's so special.
It is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was just in the house earlier and there was this, I guess it's
Squishy.
no, it's like a pencil holder maybe or something
Okay.
that Delta made Kristen for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And it's just all these little pictures of her as a baby. It's so cute. It's so cute. But then there's a small picture of me and a small picture of Carly.
No. Well, her old, in front of her bed, she has this little picture wall. And there was a moment where there was like 6 pictures of you and none of me.
Wow.
And I was like, we gotta make a little more effort for me. You gotta put a couple.
Oh,
Come in.
Who be there?
You're back.
Hi. We were just talking about you
Yeah.
in a good way.
About the cool present you made, Mom. What's up?
I just said Aaron's here.
Oh, Aaron's here.
Oh, should we bring him
Wonderful.
up too?
Tell him to come up.
Okay.
Also, I haven't talked about my grandpa yet.
Well, let's talk about him.
Okay. Well, he died
Yeah.
a couple days ago. We did talk about it on Synced. That's coming up. I always feel a little guilty about that.
Double dipping.
Yeah, when I was doing F1, I would
It's
try
confusing.
to pick what I was going to talk about, and then sometimes it'd seem insane that I wasn't going to talk. Like I'd already talked about it there because that was Monday morning, and then I
Yeah.
would just break it.
Well, yeah, you
break
have
the
to break
rule.
it because this is the main hub.
This is the golden goose.
Yeah, this
This
is the
has to have
golden
priority
goose.
over
It does.
everything.
So
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it gets confusing. 'Cause
Yes.
of course, I would talk about this multiple times. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's the first time I've experienced death, which is so lucky. It's
It's kind of
crazy.
wild.
It's
to me.
wild.
Yeah.
It's the first time my mom has, and she's in her 60s.
That is.
It's so lucky. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. As I told you, I was younger than you when my dad
I
died.
know. My dad was 18 or 16 or something when his dad died.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And his mom is, he's experienced it.
Yeah.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
You have to let Aaron sit there. Can he
day
sit there
of
so he can
guests.
say hi?
Come over here.
Oh.
Come over here, the bunny.
Do you want to sit on Aaron's lap so you can be next to the microphone? Or you want to sit on my lap next to this microphone? There we go. We made it all work. Do you want my headphones?
Are we recording?
What the hell else would we be doing in here? Just what if we were
chatting
just
with
sitting here
headphones on?
chatting with headphones on? That'd be insane, wouldn't it?
It'd be cool though.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, I would do
agree.
it. You're
Yeah.
not wrong in that I would do it. Sharon, pull your microphone closer and tell us you're just back from the slopes.
Yeah, just pulled up.
How was it?
Mammoth. First time skiing at Mammoth.
Oh man, first of many. Trips
Was it
to
fun?
Mammoth. Yeah. I can tell you, it was not 40 and sunny.
Yeah.
Day 1 and 2, it was like 12, and
That's rare there.
oh yeah, yesterday was freezing and whipping wind.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
boy.
But you kind of want that.
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah, you're used to it.
Today was that day though.
Oh, it was. It was warm and sunny.
Man, it was gorgeous. So Ruthie and I skied till noon, then we hopped and drove back. Then Delta just welcomed me, and I pulled a suitcase in, and she told me to come on up.
To get your ass upstairs.
Yeah, what are you waiting for?
Yeah.
But the diesel truck needs a name. I wanted to say how did old Tony do or whatever. But
Old
that's
Tony's good.
I think it's pretty bad, old Tony. How'd old Tony roll?
Sounds
Tone.
rusty.
Old Tone ran great. Yeah, Ruthie was like, God, you look good in a truck. And, she was like, and it
Oh.
sounds so sexy.
Oh wow!
She loved that diesel.
Oh wow!
Well, that's a Bama girl for you.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Roll Tide.
Don't say that ever again.
Listen, go blue, beat Roll Tide.
Thank God.
Yeah.
The
It was hard
world
for
is
me.
in order.
I reaped what I sowed because it was playing on New Year's Day at the Richardsons,
Yeah.
U of M versus Alabama. And I kept peeking my head and I said, how's the Tide rolling? And they were ahead most of the time. But then Go Blue came and said, no more Roll Tide. Go
Good.
Blue's here.
That's right.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And how was your accommodations up there? Was it nice?
Yeah.
The girl, Adelaide or Madeline broke her nose on day one?
Madeline.
Madeline.
She struggled. And we had just a lot of hurt feelings, a lot of it's scary up in those big mountains. I mean, last year was I was terrified when we went to Vail.
Yeah. It's overwhelming when you pull up and you see the hill. You're like, ooh.
Yeah.
It looks very scary from the street.
I felt for them, but at the same time, I was
Time to
very
roll
happy
tide.
that it clicked for me.
How many crashes did you have?
Only 2.
Oh, that's not bad at all. You're going to ski circles around me the next time we go.
That's the goal. Yeah. No, but I can party with you. I don't care what color a hill I go on.
Oh,
the whole thing now.
great.
Yeah.
Daddy, can I tell you a story after this?
Yeah, of course you can. You can tell me a story anytime.
No, but on here.
Oh, yeah, tell
after
me.
his. Okay, that today everyone was putting their shirts over their nose and yelling about that someone farted because
Okay.
it stinked on the carpet.
Oh, it stinked on the carpet?
Yeah,
So if they farted, it went through their pants into the carpet and then
Yeah.
permeated the carpet?
and it smelled on the carpet and everyone.
Were people sniffing the carpet?
No,
Like dogs? Like
Was it poop?
Did someone poop themselves?
I don't know.
Did
If
you
it
ever
smelled
figure out
on the
who did it?
carpet,
You didn't figure out who did it, but you have your theories. Yeah, it's got to be a dude.
Catherine?
Dude, was it a
No.
boy? You think? Yeah, boys are stinky.
Dinky boys.
Fart all the time.
Poop and fart.
Stick their butts in their
Boogers.
nose.
Hard boogers.
elephant shaped.
Oh wow! Blast from the past. A literal blast.
I'll never
Every
forget.
time it always reminds me of the video. The guy that, like on the court that he narrated, the guy dumping his fingers into.
Let's see if we can do it together, okay?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do that.
Okay, so let's start with we're trying to cut away.
Yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
We're trying to cut away,
but our cameras are all fucked up, and this network is a mess. So I guess we're just going to have to hone in on this guy dumping his fingers up to his knuckles in his asshole.
Oh
This is our favorite family video we watch over and over again.
Wow.
So I guess we're just going to have to hone in on this guy.
Dumping his finger knuckle deep into his asshole.
Our cameras are all fucked up. This network's a mess. So we're just going to have to hone in
on this guy dumping his finger.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow. That was pretty incredible.
Child Protective Service may come pick you up. This
Yeah.
makes the
I'm
air.
leaving that in.
All right, well, let's get this ship back on course
Yeah,
here. Let's
we
see if we can
must.
land this plane a little bit. You guys are just in time to hear some facts about Paul Giamatti.
Well,
Oh, I love
or
yeah.
not, or lack of fact.
no, there's some. I was finishing my story.
Oh, please. Okay. I know it's very,
It's chaotic.
it's chaotic and it's not thoughtful.
It's okay.
We were talking about Monica's
My
grandpa
grandfather
died.
died.
And this
yesterday
started, she was
morning.
crying when this started, and now we're talking about dumping fingers.
Oh my.
So we've really been disrespectful to the whole
no,
grieving process.
It's what we do, I guess.
I guess.
Sorry about Grampy.
Oh, it's thank you. It's one of those weird ones to respond to
Yeah.
because he was in his 90s and lived an amazing, great life. But you want to say it's okay. Like when people say I'm sorry, you want
Yeah.
to say it's okay. Well, I have been saying it's okay,
That's what I.
but it's not really okay.
Well,
like it is.
Like, what if you got to keep your Papa Bob until you just got to know him that much longer?
Yeah.
I know.
My
It's-
Papa Bob died when I was 20.
I know. So it's okay. But
Basically,
it's
we
still
put you in a
really
position where
sad.
you have to say thank you to
I know.
us.
That's I guess it's good
Thank
we
you.
did talk about it on Synced because this version of it is different.
Thank you.
Anyway, yeah. So, all right, couple facts. When did 60 Minutes start? Debuted in 1968.
68. 7 years before we arrived on planet Earth, Aaron.
Oh man,
They were already in their 7th season when we hit the
weren't
scene.
even a
Yep.
twinkle.
The nicotine level in vapes versus
Ooh.
cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, we've got an expert here. This is helpful. Aaron knows all about them nicotine levels.
all right, let's hear it.
Well, I can tell you, I don't know because the less I know, the more okay I am with vaping. But I have gone up and down. I think, maybe last time we were together, I was smoking this one that was I needed so much nicotine and
Smoke.
I wanted to be one of those guys that pull off of a bottle full of liquid or whatever, people are doing where they create a cloud that covers a city block.
Right.
Or you see
wanted
it
a massive
billowing
cloud.
out of a car window. But I didn't want to be that guy, like holding a big
Beer
apparatus.
can.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I got real finally, and I'm like, okay, you can't, because the button started going off and smoke was going. Like I think my pants caught on fire once from the.
Oh my God.
And
It would just start letting smoke out.
oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
And when I got that multi-strada, I thought the motorcycle was on fire the first time driving down the road because I had it in the little holder.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, just smoke was coming at me. And I'm like, oh my God, it's on fire the first time I drove it. And it was a vape.
Oh God.
Anyway,
Anyhow.
yeah, I'm not
You're not an expert.
I really enjoy it still. But
Okay. Well, a 20 milligram
Yeah.
vape with 40 milligrams of nicotine
There we go.
is therefore the equivalent of smoking 1 or 2 packs of 20 cigarettes.
Yeah, so it's a pack.
Yeah. Okay. You said that he met Ron and Edward at school, but I don't know who they are. They're obviously famous people.
Oh. Yes.
Ron Howard?
Nope. Ron Livingston.
Oh, okay.
And what was the second name?
Edward?
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, at Yale.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So hopefully the listener is listening because that's
I can't believe that's all I said.
not said.
Okay. Oops. Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah. All right. So Ron Livingston, Edward Norton.
They were in the same class?
He was, I want to say, Paul said he was 2 years ahead of Edward.
Well, also
maybe?
Paul was there for his master's. So
Well, he was doing plays extracurricularly during his BA with Edward, but he was 2 years ahead of him. And then he came back and did his master's and then did plays through that.
right.
They're the same age, Ron and Paul.
Oh, they are?
Both 56.
Oh, wow.
Ron seems young.
Yeah.
Don't
he
you
does.
think?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Did Thomas Edison steal inventions? It says 22 people actually invented incandescent electric lamps before Edison did. And Edison didn't steal their idea. Rather, Edison improved on their idea by first understanding the market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of, Edison did not invent the light bulb, but I think he did.
Yeah, I had never heard that about Edison. I've heard a lot of stuff. Delta's got her hand raised.
Oh, Delta Bell Shepard.
I have a question for you or Daddy.
Okay.
Have you ever farted and has it ever
Been picked up by the mic.
picked up by the mic?
Great question.
Yeah, it has a couple times. Not Monica,
Not
but
me. I've never farted in here.
Yeah, and only during a fact check because I lower my guard a little. I'm more professional when the guests are here.
Or pictures with the guest.
Well, one time, yes, with a picture. Yeah,
With
during the
Liz.
picture taking with Liz.
Before Liz was our
Your friend Liz. I farted on her during the pictures on accident. It just came out and it was loud and we were both shocked by it. Oopsies.
But I don't know if we've ever heard the fart.
So nothing really.
Well, several times
explosive.
I've gone like, and then I stare at you because definitely I heard it through the headphones.
Oh.
But you were maybe distracted with your facts or something.
I don't think
You don't remember
I've
hearing
ever
any?
heard it.
Rob, do you remember hearing any over here?
Think so.
Okay. Okay, Monica's got to get through these now.
No, that's it.
That was everything.
Mm-hmm. That's all the facts.
Did you like Paul? You were hearing it for the first time.
I was hearing it for
Isn't
the
he
first
so
time.
fun?
I love his voice.
Yes.
Great voice.
Yeah. And he and I loved smoking. We talked about smoking for 30 minutes. I hope you left every minute of it in. Yeah, we were talking about if they invented a pill where you would inoculate you from getting cancer, would you go back to smoking? And we were both thinking probably.
Yeah, I mean, at least with good company. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yes, with good friends and family.
Yeah.
Your children in the car. You'd have to give them the pill as well. All right. Well, buddy. What?
Nothing.
I love you, and I'm sorry that your granddaddy dad. I don't have headphones on, so I don't even know. I can't hear.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that we were having a real moment, and then all hell broke loose.
It'll happen. I guess that's life.
I'm sorry, Mommy.
It's okay, baby.
Did you know her grandpa died?
Yeah, she texted me that she was going and she couldn't take me for the birthday trip because she was going to see her grandpa.
Right.
Yeah. He didn't die then, which was a surprise. He held on for a little longer. I got to see him again.
He
That
wanted
was
to
nice.
make it to 2024.
Well, there is, okay, so I do feel not guilty, but yes, guilty. My grandpa used to have this superstition.
Yes.
That if you start the year together, you end the year together. That was always his thing. So he was very superstitious around New
You had to
Year's.
be
We all had
together.
to be there.
Yeah.
I never hung out with friends. I just did family stuff.
Yeah.
And then I did break it before when I lived here and I had to work at Soul Cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to come back. So I broke that. No one died.
Right.
But then this year we were not all together. And then he did die a couple days later.
Right, but under
He
no
was not-
circumstances would he have made it to the end
I
of the
know,
year.
I
saw
know.
a picture of yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So, I mean, he kind of self-fulfilled that prophecy. He did that.
Also, in a weird way, you were absolutely adhering to his policy, which is you shouldn't start the year together if you're not going to finish it. And we know we're not going to finish it together, so it'd be bad luck to start it together.
Oh, I like that spin on
The
it.
only way you could have seen him at the end of the year is if you two died and you were in heaven with him. Right. Knock, 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 knock. So
True.
Yeah.
Okay, I like
All right.
that.
That's another one of Delta's
riddles.
math riddles.
Add that. Tell TJ.
Well, I love you.
Love you. Happy to see you, Aaron.
I'm happy to see you too.
Well, love everyone.
Love everyone.
Happy New Year still.
Yeah.
How long do we say that?
It drives me nuts.
Long time.
There's nothing worse than like,
I'm going to say it in June.
Yeah. let's
Carry
go.
it through June. All right.
all right, love you.
Bye.